right, let's see. Let's try this. Aha! Okay. All right, we're good.
Here we go.
Holy cow!
It's
Man, I hope people get it.
yeah, I'm sure they will.
Right now we got.
I'm trying to see if it's coming up on the main thing. If anybody out there says 0, someone says nope. KS says nope.
Share. Is there a way we could share this?
We should be able to. Hey, look. Share. Copy link. Okay. Yeah, you got it?
Yeah, I think now we're good. Okay. You sent it? All right, cool. Let's wait for a few more people to hop on. Yeah, dude, I couldn't believe it. I came down here. I'm like, here, click, click, click. I'm like, what is that? It's freaking water dripping.
Oh, really?
I look up, and my ceiling's got like a water thing just coming from it. I'm like, oh, that sucks. And
Yeah.
then I pulled the tape that was there, pulled the tape off, got that pulled away, and water came out of that. So I'm wiggling the water line. Water was coming down that line and go to the refrigerator. You know what it was? Where the freezer is that connects to the main line.
Mm-hmm.
The coupling was no good. So I tightened it,
Yeah.
And it wouldn't stop. So I shut the water main off. I had a spare water line on and hooked that one up, and we're in good shape now.
Good.
Ridiculous.
So who's on right now? I got nobody on, it says.
I got no one. Well, I got one person. Might take a minute because people are probably trying to figure out what just happened.
Because I don't see it on my. I'm looking on the TV. It still says upcoming. Are we early? Because you switched to 8 o'clock. Are we early now?
No, we're not early. Yeah.
That's weird.
It is weird. Okay. Well, people are starting to come in. All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
People who are coming in, post something so we know your people are on here. They can see it.
Yeah, we just want to make sure you guys can hear us and everything.
It says I'm here. Everyone is still on the other feed. So there's 2 feeds.
Yeah. Tell everybody, Rick Mikowski, if they can actually switch to this link. So if you guys can somehow get the link, because if I do it, I'm afraid I'm gonna exit out of it. If you can get this link shared on that one that's live now, send everybody this link to that one. So this way they can get here.
So we have 2 live streams up in 18 other rooms. What? What does that mean?
Oh, I think he meant like there's 18 people in the other room that are live.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see. Well,
yeah. If you guys can send the link for this live feed and drop it in the comments section of that feed, and then we can get more people. I don't know what happened.
Let me try something real quick.
Yeah.
You still see me?
I still see you, yeah.
All right, let me try something.
Okay. Oh, there we go. We're getting more people in. Let's give us another 30 seconds and we'll fire it off. He's like frozen in time. If only I could just... He's not even going to see it. Maybe he will. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Thank you very much, Frenchie and Romeo. Thank you very much, guys. There we go. Meatballs. There we go. I just told them go back to their homepage and click on the live. Yeah. Yeah, the original live. We gotta do the original one. So we got 10 people.
You still there?
Yeah. Yeah. You ready?
All right, here we go. Yeah, we got people coming in now. I shared it on a couple other different things. All right, what's going on, Meatballs? Sorry you had a little bit of a situation at the house with your fridge running.
I caught it.
Yeah. Good thing you were home when it happened. You didn't come home
Man,
to
I'll tell you what. That would have been bad. That would have been really bad. But
yeah.
We're here. So
yeah, we're here.
Welcome.
So how you doing, man?
Regular citizen.
Yeah, hey. I changed my name from before, as you know, so I figured, I didn't want so much heat with my last name that I had on here, so I'll just change it. Regular citizen, which is what we all are and what most of us are here.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, well, let's start off with the first thing we have tonight. I've got my EDC bag. I know we talked a little bit briefly about it. Not sure. Do you have your EDC bag with you, or?
I always have a bag next to me, so it's kind of interesting with EDC bags and go bags, and there's all kinds of names for them. Ditch bags or never coming back bags or whatever they call them. I always have an EDC bag within reach, right? Whether I'm at work, I have an EDC bag with the bare essentials. I have a bag in my truck that it's kind of like a go bag. It's more like a get home bag, which I'm actually going to be kind of adjusting some things in it because I've done some thinking about my get home bag. And then of course in the house we've got bags ready to go if we have to, because nobody, like we discussed last time, we don't want to bug out. We want to stay home. But in the event you have to, you got to get out of Dodge. We got bags. We've got most of our important things in tubs that we could probably get in the truck pretty quick. It's like a matter of get out of the house quick now, unless it was like a house fire or something. And in that case, our bags are right close by. We grab them and go. And I have stuff in the truck, so yeah, my EDC bag's always near me. It's always close by. And that's the bag that I go. I don't leave the house without. I've got extra things for the pew in that bag. And the bare essentials, first aid and things like that. Charging units for my phone, battery packs, of course, medication, and like a boo-boo kit, a little more advanced boo-boo kit.
Right.
I have the same bag I think you do, right? Do you have the green bag still? Or what are you using now?
Right here.
Okay. So that's your okay, that's the different bag that I have. I have a different bag. So that is your carry bag, right?
Yeah, this is just my basic, keep it simple, stupid bag is what I like to call it. But I also have the one I think you're talking about right here. This is kind of like a knockoff of that Shangri-La or whatever. Maxpedition also makes something like this.
Right.
This is a UTG. So a little more room than the other one.
Yeah, so that's what I carry on a regular basis. Now, if I go out to if we're going to go to a restaurant or somewhere, the bag, your first bag you showed, I carry that, and that's got my concealed carry. If it's not on my body, it's got a tourniquet. It's got a light. It's got it's pretty much like a shooting bag, if you want to say like an active shooter bag. If something, it's got extra mags. If something was to go down, that bag is what that's for. But my EDC bag, if I because I don't always want to bring my EDC, the second bag you showed into like a place of business or a restaurant. It's too obvious what it is. It's not really gray man. The bag I've got, like you just showed, I've got a black one, nothing on it. You can't tell what it is. It looks like a medical bag. It looks like if I had like if I had like insulin or something, which I don't, but it looks like something like that. No one really pays attention to it. And that's the bag I carry if we're going to go out, with the in-laws or go out, on a date to a restaurant or a movie or something like that. I carry that with me. That's the most important thing. And then, so, I was doing a lot of thinking about get home bags, and, I think there really is a fine line between a bug out bag and a get home bag.
Right.
And you and I just talked about this before, bouncing back and forth each other. And I really think that, and I read this somewhere, so I'm not taking all the credit for this. I read it or I saw it somewhere on a video, where, most of us all work. Now, there are some people, like Sean on here, for instance, we know he works far from home, at least he used to. So he's going to be a little bit different. But most of us work like within 20 miles from home, I would think. I could be wrong about that, but that's like the general census.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had to go on foot to get home, now, of course, myself, I'm a bigger guy. I'm not going to make it home a 20-mile hike in any kind of record time. And I can recognize that, right? I'm not fooling anybody. I'm not fooling myself. It's going to take me some time to get home. But be as it may, I think the average time to take me to get home, I'm not going to really be camping. And I'm not really going to be cooking. I'm going to just keep focusing on getting home. I'm going to want to eat, of course, and in that case, power bars, energy, type items, things that won't melt in my bag. I'd like to have a Snickers bar or something, but they don't melt. But granola bars, trail mix, regular stuff like that, maybe tuna packets, something that I can just eat either on the go, or I can just take a quick, squat somewhere and hide out and take a quick nap, eat something real quick. Have a few bottles of water in my bag, a few bottles of water in my vehicle at all times, so I have extra water with me. I'm not really focused. I don't think I really need to focus on shelter so much. So maybe I'll have a small emergency blanket, like one of the bivy, the orange, solar mylar blanket things. I could always use it as a shelter. I could use it as a blanket, something like that, or just a simple tarp that's stuffed, like a poncho, or that's something that's stuffed. I like whoobies, the old school military whoobies. I got tons of them. They don't take up any room. You can stuff them in a pouch, stuff them in a bag. You can use them for shelter. You can use them for cover, warmth, especially. That's a good thing to carry with you. But I don't see myself really needing a whole sleep system, and I don't need pots and pans. So I think to get home, I'm saying. So I think a lot of that could eliminate some room in my bag and some weight in my bag. Definitely comms, like we talked about last time.
Oh yeah.
But I think a lot of things I'm going to be pulling out. I've got a Stanley, I had a word, coffee thing that I can put coffee in and make. I don't need that. I've got packs of coffee. I can make instant coffee if I need it. So I'm going to pull that out of my bag. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So I don't know. What's your take on that?
Yeah. So, like for me, yeah, it depends. What vehicle I'm in. Obviously, I drive a service truck. So within my service truck, this little green bag is going to come with me. So this is my, it's very. I keep it light. I got my basics in here: fire starting, water purification, a means to defend myself, the whole 9 yards. I typically design my bags around distance traveled. Okay. Now, my distance traveled usually from work to home, no more than 45 minutes. On rare occasions, it's an hour that I'm traveling. And like you were saying, 20 miles to hike back home if I couldn't do it in a vehicle, for whatever ungodly reason. Yeah, I think that I'm going to have to stop. There's no way in hell I'm going to trek 20 miles in a single day. It's I watched a guy, and I think you know who I'm talking about. He was skinny. I think he had just your basic stuff. Well, actually, do you remember the channel, the individual's channel, his name, that tried doing it?
I don't.
So,
I wish I could think of it.
yeah, they were those two guys that were out in Pennsylvania. Anyways, they tried doing like a mock bug out situation. And this guy was pretty fit. I mean, he should have been okay, and he couldn't take it. He couldn't do it, and he was actually off by his distance by like 8 miles. He only got to 10 miles, and he threw in the towel. I think it was. I think it was 10 or 12, and he threw in the towel. He was done. He was toast. He thought he went like 16, 17 miles. He didn't. So for me, yeah, keeping it light, absolutely. But in another bag, um, that's where, if things are really bad and I'm like really, I have no way to drive my vehicle or what have you. I got food in there. I got water. I always keep water. All my vehicles, I got water, roadside assistance stuff, Mylar bags or blankets, what have you, to keep warm. Um, I'm only 10 to 15 miles between home and work now. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you guys gauge the distance that you're traveling to work every day, give like on average, and you could, if you have Google Maps or even Apple, what have you, it'll keep track of all that history, and you can pretty much gauge, what you are going to really need and the furthest you're really going to be. And the furthest that I am at all times is only 45 minutes away from home, which only is actually pretty far on foot. But I think that everybody should have, their go bag, which could be anything really. I mean, you keep that in like maybe a duffel bag or a backpack, preferably a backpack, shoulder straps, or you have a little bag like this, and you're
Yeah.
able to just go, keep it light and go. So
Yeah. Well, like I said, I there's so many scenarios that we can come up with, and I
yeah,
think we find ourselves sometimes obsessing with what we need to put in our bags and different bags we need to have, and when we leave our house, what bags should we have? Like I said, I've got a bag in the back seat of my truck that I would think can get me home. And of course, in my truck, I've got stuff everywhere. Let's be honest. In the back seat, I've got extra. I've got a pair of shoes that I can put on if I need to take my boots off. I got other pairs of clothes in my back seat of my truck, folded up. I have clothes in my bag too, but I've just got stuff all over the place. I got ammo everywhere. I got stuff everywhere. Um, and I think one thing I think people stress about is how much stuff to buy for each bag, what to buy for each bag,
right,
especially if you're a gear junkie, right? Especially if you like to, if you're into knives or you're into going out and doing stuff, because now we can talk about a whole other bag, and that's like a haversack.
right.
Like I have a haversack that I use when I go out and do the bushcraft stuff or the survival stuff. I've got a haversack. Well, that has stuff in there too. That has the essentials in there too for that. So I think you know, people follow them in the line where they get overwhelmed with what to put in their bags, and
Yes,
they buy things, and they don't want to buy things and spend the money on things, knowing that they're not going to even see it anymore technically because they're going to put it in their bag and that's it. So people give a hard time buying expensive things, knowing that it's going to just be thrown in a bag and they're never going to see it again. You
exactly,
know,
exactly. Yeah, I
so
well, and that's what we always say. You gotta mess with your gear. You gotta play around with your gear. And I think if you keep it light, you'd be good to go. Now, let me ask you this: if you could explain to the audience your take on the difference between a bug out and a get home bag.
well, again, a bug out bag to me is a bag that I've got stuff that I can cook, I can camp, I can take shelter. If I had to if we were going to get to an actual bug out location, um, I think that's what my bug out bag is for. And it's going to be if I have to take shelter somewhere and make a mock ship bug out location where I
Mm-hmm.
might be having set camp for a couple days or however long it might be. My go bag, first of all, my go bag. If I have to grab that and go, I'm probably never coming back to my house again.
Yeah,
Right. So, and unless I can come back some other time and rummage through my stuff and see what I have, actual go bags from the house, there's a good chance I'm not coming back to the house,
right.
at least anytime soon. And the chances of when I come back that I'm going to have a lot of stuff still in my house are going to be very slim. So, when I grab that bag, the go bag, it's to leave the house and get the hell out of Dodge and get to our bug out location. And in that case, that bag's gonna have everything in there. It's gonna have, clothing. It's gonna have food. It's gonna have cooking supplies. I love the Stanley kits. You got water dripping on you.
No, I thought I heard something.
The feds, man, it's the feds.
Yeah, right.
And so I'm gonna have all that. Whereas a get home bag, I'm gonna have I should have the bare essentials. And like I said, I'm gonna change some things around. The bag should be light. My goal is to get home within at least 24 hours to get home, and I'm not focusing on camping and cooking and setting up camp and making fires. Fires bring smell. People are attracted to fires. The zombies are gonna smell what you're cooking.
Yeah.
So my goal is just to get home. I'm gonna have. I wish we could all walk around with long guns. We're not going to, and plus you're gonna stick out like a sore thumb, and walk around with a long gun. So, but I'm gonna have my pew
Hmm.
at the ready because I don't know what's going on in society when I'm trying to get home. Because if I have to ditch my truck and get home, something's going on bad, and golly knows what I'm walking into.
Right.
You know,
Right.
in that case, I'm grabbing my radio. I'm putting my radio on. I'm gonna see who's out there. Hopefully, I can talk to my people, my tribe, if you will, my family, my group, and I'm gonna try to get home. And so my biggest focus is not really eating because I can go without food for a little bit. My biggest focus is security, getting myself home safe to my family, my wife, to my house,
Yeah.
and hunkering down at home. Whereas if I have to leave, it's gonna be my whole bag. It's gonna be both our bags. We each have a bag, and I'm gonna stuff whatever I can in my truck and get the hell out of here.
Yeah. I think that pretty much like hits it on the head. But you also brought up a good point too, about having that long gun and standing out like a sore thumb. You know, the other issue is this. Let's say you're in a total collapse. The economy tanked, civil unrest, the whole 9 yards. Let's say you're in the city. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's say you're a
that's
city
yeah.
prepper. I always say it, man. I feel bad for city preppers. It's gonna suck, and they got to go on foot. They can't leave. Every exit to the highway's jammed. Everything is clogged up. There's no driving. Okay, the trains are overloaded. Forget it. Maybe there's a fight. Maybe something's breaking out on the train. You don't know. You got to continue on foot for whatever reason. And like I said, having a bag like this, even if you have like a cameraman bag, those are
Right.
so great, man, and they're perfect. They're
Mhm.
perfect. Get yourself like something nonchalant, very gray, man. This way you can walk right through the crowds if you have to. Maybe run with them in the direction that you're going if they're running in that direction. Just until you can get yourself out of that city and you start catching yourself going from the city to the city burbs to finally wherever it is that you're trying to go to. And doing it with a
Mhm.
long gun is not going to you're not going to get anywhere with that.
No,
Um,
yeah.
there's no way you're going to
Especially
continue on foot.
whether it's legal, whether you live in a state that allows open carry or not, you're going to
Exactly.
be sticking out this whole time. Now,
Exactly.
Rick made a comment here that says my go bag is light, medical, water, and ammo, and poncho. Everything else I can pursue on the way.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to I agree with that with my get home bag. Now my bug out bag, I want to be able to have. It depends what your plans are. If your plans are to bug out on your own and be with just one other person, then you're fine. But if you're going to bug out to your location, you want to make sure you have enough stuff to supply um, to add to the group, if you
Right.
will. You don't want to show empty handed, you know.
Absolutely not.
So whatever you can take and bring, hopefully you can still drive. If you can't drive, then that's a whole different situation. And I really, we talked about this today actually over breakfast when we met up today. I really can't foresee a reason why we couldn't drive. Put all the EMF or EMP stuff aside. Someone had made up a good suggestion or a good point, I should say. What if you just can't travel the roads because they're taken over? You can't. What if you can't get down certain roads because they're blockaded? They're blocked off. Well, that's something that you have to make sure you have different routes.
Right.
Know how to get across. If you got to maybe travel down a prairie path or a canal trail or something on your vehicle, you're gonna have to figure that out. And then, of course, not to sound like a movie or anything, but if you have to go through a roadblock, figure out how to get through a roadblock. Just figure
Yeah.
it out, I guess. We could sit here for hours and think of scenarios, and a lot of them make us feel uncomfortable, you know. But And, that brings me to another thing. We've been seeing a lot in the news. What have we been seeing from the feds right now? All the
Hmm.
warnings.
All the warnings. Yep.
Yeah. And I got to say, this is the one time that I think we've seen the most warnings put out from the government about being prepared, and something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And we find ourselves saying, "Well, what's going to happen? Why don't they just fucking tell us what's going to happen? Tell us." And you brought up a good point, and explain what you said about why.
Sure. Yeah. So I think the reason why they're keeping it so vague, and again, this may be tinfoil hatish, but that's okay. I like a tinfoil hat conspiracy. I think everybody does. Um, my thing is this. Pearl Harbor happened, and the thing is, somebody knew about Pearl Harbor, right? Well, what did they do to that guy? He had a message. He wanted to leak it to the press. The English intelligence got word that this English intelligence officer was going to go and do this, so they locked him up. He leaked. He got to the Americans, but the Americans didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Same thing, with 9/11. 9/11, different federal agencies knew about it, but they didn't share information with each other. And that was a fact. I mean, that wasn't even fake news. I mean, that was we found that out a couple months after the fact when 9/11 happened. And I remember seeing it too on TV when they were discussing it. So my thing is this. The reason why they're not telling us is because they're not letting the enemies know that we know that that specific person or group is going to do something,
Right.
because they might lose track, of those people, because they're going to disappear and they're going to wait for their moment to strike. So instead of killing 1,000 people on this date, now, we bypass them, and now they're going to hit another target and they're going to kill triple the amount of people. So to them, it's like if we let them know that we know and we blur out all the details, well, then that's it. They're not going to do it no more, and they're going to wait and they're going
Yeah.
to drum up another plan. So that's why I think they're not telling us.
And that
And they don't
makes a
want
lot
to
of
cause
sense.
mass panic. So
And that makes a lot of sense because if you look at if you take a look at like police departments, when there's a big investigation going on, whether it be an active shooter or whatever it is on TV, or a homicide or any kind of investigation, and the police give out a press conference, they always are very vague what they release. They always say, "I can't release it right now. It's an ongoing investigation." And there's a reason why they do that. They don't want to botch up their investigation, and they don't want to give the person of interest the head start that they're onto them. And in this case, it's kind of the same thing. Whereas if they come out and say, "Well, we know it's this and this and this and this," now you have a situation of, and most terrorists, are pretty smart. Let's just be honest. I mean, that's what they do. They're terrorists. That's what they do. They're going to go to Plan B. Well, now the feds have spent so much resources and time finding out what their Plan A is. They're not going to know what Plan B is.
right,
Right? So they don't want to give anything away. That now they're caught with their pants down. They don't know what Plan B is going to be. They
right,
just foiled the original plan. Thank God, but they have a Plan B and a Plan C. Believe me. I mean, 9/11 they did. They had other plans.
oh yeah,
Well,
oh, yeah,
so I think that's a great point that you brought up, and I believe that. So when we see all these reports that keep coming out every week about we're getting closer and closer to things happening, and it's dangerous, and all of that, I think it's we need to take that into consideration and really pay attention to that
I
and
agree.
focus on being prepared.
I agree. Yeah,
Um,
I mean, you even have that Texas. What was that? Not Broward County. What's that county in Texas where the sheriff came out and basically was warning everybody of
yeah.
something that he saw and
Mhm.
heard that spooked him so much that he actually started getting his guys all new ARs, all his squads having ARs, getting the people, the town folk within his county prepared and ready.
Mhm.
So something was said, obviously, in that meeting. We don't know what was said, but
And I
something
think
was said.
right, and I think he even stated that they weren't even told at the sheriff's convention what it was. They were told that something's coming. I believe
Yeah,
that's what I don't think he even think he knew, but I think he knew that what they were being told was frightening,
yeah,
and he did what a good sheriff should do, because he's for the people, and came back and said, "Hey, we need to start revamping our procedures and our security policy in this county, and let the people know that you can believe it if you don't want to believe it, whatever. But we're preparing for things,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So
He definitely did.
we don't know what it is. I know Congress has come out and said that yeah, he was I think it was Ohio. Congress has come out at telling the federal government that they need to release what they know, and it's been brushed under the rug. So I think you make a good point. They're not going to come out and tell us what it is. They're not going to come out and say this, because then it'll be something else, and it'll be hit them on the it'll be a 1-2 punch and a sucker punch, and they won't know.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and I think that's exactly what it is. Um, I we have been witnessing so much going on, and like perfect example. I'm sure you guys remember this. Within 48 hours, they kept saying, from the minute it was talked about, uh, the president knew something was imminent. The intel department had, information that was critical. The American people need to know. Congress actually was pushing for the president to come forward with this information that he had, or the intelligence community to come out with whatever it was that they had. And within 48 hours, finally, they had a press conference.
Yeah,
They came out, remember, and it was about that satellite that the Russians want to launch. They haven't done it yet, but they have it, and they're going to do it. It's a satellite with a nuke on it, but it also had what their plans aren't to actually nuke the Earth. It's to nuke the atmosphere and wipe out everything.
yeah,
Because as you know, GPS systems, the United States and the Russians really, and I think China has one satellite operable that runs off of communications and all that stuff. But if our GPS satellites were to go down, we would still have the Russians to go off of. If the Russian satellites went off, the Russians would still have our satellites to go off of. Whereas the European Union has this many.
yeah.
So if the
That's
Russians
scary.
really wanted to, they blow that nuke off in the atmosphere above Earth, okay, above orbit, whatever, or at orbit. They take out all the satellites, they fry all the satellites, boom, they're gone. Everything's gone. They send 3 or 4 more up, they're back up online. We no
Yeah,
longer have access to their satellites. That's
yeah.
scary.
That's
That's
really
scary.
scary. Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
So I don't know. I don't know what the because then the following day the United States launches like what 4 more satellites, missiles or
yeah, yeah.
satellites capable of carrying arms up into space. I believe it was.
Yeah.
Like
And there's a reason.
okay,
I mean, obviously we know why.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
oh yeah, yeah. We know the big one's coming. We know it's coming.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's not a matter of like being like doomsday fear or anything like that. It's just we're seeing too much writing on the wall. There's too much intertwined with each other.
right.
There's too much. So like what scares me the most? I think probably everybody the same way is loss of communications. And we kind of talked about this last time. You know, when we were kids, we were used to not having phones. We were used to just going by street lights, flashing on and off to come inside. That's how you communicated. We didn't care. We would go out for the whole day without a phone, and we would use a payphone to contact. We didn't care. Say what you want to say about communication and technology or technology nowadays. We depend on phones. We do.
Oh yeah,
We depend on it. It's everywhere. It's our even our whole medical history is on our phone. We depend on it. And um, if we were to lose, I don't care if we lose Facebook. I don't care if we lose social media. I'm not going to freak out about that. But if we were to lose cell phones, and then we were to lose our vehicles, which I have my own opinion about that. Um, it would be a really, really scary feeling to know you're on your own if you were at work or you were trying to get home
oh yeah.
with no communication. That's why it's so important to have those radios, man. I preach it all the time. Have those freaking radios. And even if you're not talking to your people, you can talk to somebody, and you can also listen to what's going on.
Right.
You know, um, but yeah, and I think there's so many different scenarios of things that could happen. And of course, civil unrest is a big thing, and I think we're seeing that closer and closer as the election. We're going to see more of that. I don't think we're going to ever see another Floyd thing. I think we saw Floyd happen. The whole Floyd rise happened because it was during COVID. People were
Yeah.
cooped up. They used it as an excuse. A lot of it was set up. A lot of it was all paid for. It was all planned. I don't think that
Oh
we're
yeah.
going to see that again. And I also don't think that the citizens are going to allow it. I don't care what side you are on. I don't think the citizens would allow that to happen again.
Another COVID shutdown type ordeal.
No, I don't think the citizens would allow their cities being burned down.
Oh, that. Yeah. No, I don't think so
No,
either. I don't think so.
no.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of brings us to the whole free Palestine nonsense.
Yeah.
Look, we don't care what side of the aisle you're on. But if you think you're going to go around doing what you did back in 2020 with this narrative, good luck, because people had a
Oh,
taste of it.
yeah.
They didn't like
Especially with
it,
that narrative.
and they ain't gonna get you anywhere except hurt
No.
or 6 feet under.
Yeah. Especially
So
with that narrative. I mean, I can't understand, and I'll get political. I can't understand the support for that.
no,
I without getting too much into it, I can't see the support. I look at it as you support that, you're supporting terrorism. Period.
right? Yeah.
And we're going to see a lot. That's what we're going to see now. Moving on through the elections, we're going to see that whole agenda, the whole back the police, back the blue, um, F the police, the whole police rioting and all that. We're not going to see that. You're going to see the Palestinian protests get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Right.
and now the migrant things. I mean, I think Ford Boss had posted a video on that today about there's a big thing tomorrow down somewhere in Chicago that they're protesting against the minorities that are taking over their local community center that they're not allowed to use anymore.
Yeah. That. Well, that brings up another point. You know, what if there's a collapse tomorrow? We have all these migrants in this country. Do you honestly think they're going to be out to help their fellow
No,
Americans? No,
no, they're
no.
already not.
It's gonna
It's
be a free
no,
for all.
yeah. I mean, look, I don't know if they're here or not, but I know there's more coming. The Haitians are not coming here. They're being escorted from the Coast Guard, and I've heard some of them are cannibals, and we're man, this country is booked up. We don't have any more room. We don't need any more of this. We don't have any more room for this. Let
No,
This is craziness. We've got measles outbreaks now downtown in the cities where the migrants are at. We don't need that.
no.
Because they're not vaccinated, but we're all supposed to get vaccinated, but they're not vaccinated. So, um,
It's
maybe
silliness.
probably getting off topic here, but it is something that it's concerning, and I think people are going to eventually get to the breaking point.
Yeah,
You're taking resources from people.
yeah.
However, I've always said be careful what you wish for. And these cities that voted for certain politicians, and these cities that were okay with being sanctuary cities, are getting what they wanted. I mean, I hate to say it like
Oh
that,
yeah.
but,
Oh yeah.
but like I always say, be careful what you wish for, because it can really go bad. You
Buyer's
know,
remorse.
yeah, and they're having
That's what
buyer's
they're
remorse now.
experiencing. Buyer's remorse.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, it's like it's like that liberal relative. Well, I didn't vote for this. Well, you did. You
you
did
did.
because that's who you voted for. Like we always
Right,
say, I don't care about your politics or whatever or what side of the aisle you're on, but just know your vote has ramifications. You
right.
know, and that party is not the party from the 1960s, 1950s. I mean, that party is changing at a pace that I don't even think some of the ones that have been in it since the 60s and 70s can even understand or keep up with. So but again, we always say they're both wings of the same bird. Right and the left wings of the same bird. And we're left to deal with what's left over, right? We're always left to deal with the problems.
Always.
Um, our backs are broken. The middle class backs are broken.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, it's gonna get rather interesting. Like I said, the closer we get to the election, um, with the potential for complete collapse of civilization in our country, a collapse of law enforcement. 'Cause let's face it, man. After 2020, with all the laws passed that go against the police, come on, what cop in their right mind is going to stick around to protect the politicians that voted against them?
Look, they're dropping like flies.
Yeah.
Coppers are not sticking around longer than they used to. I've got family that were in law enforcement 30, 35 years, and they would have kept going if they could, but they because they loved it. Now you got law enforcement that are bailing out, not bailing, but retiring early, 20 years, even sooner, or finding new careers. And the standards have gotten lower now for law enforcement. So now when you are bringing new police in, unfortunately, I'm not saying all, okay, make that very clear, but unfortunately, you're seeing a lot more of the people who really shouldn't be cops,
Right.
and people who are probably shouldn't be wearing badges, and you have a lot of thugs with badges, and people who are just who don't care and don't have they don't bleed blue like they used to, and so that's part of defunding the police. And that also goes back to the training. You defund the police, you're defunding training. So now you have cops that are doing stupid things when they're on the job, and they're not using their head because their training's not there, because they're defunding the police and the money's not there for training. So it's all one big. You mentioned the police. So there's a town in Louisiana somewhere where they are now closing the department, literally closing from whatever time it is. It's like in the evening. So you call the police, you don't get a cop unless it's life or death. But that doesn't include a suspicious person, criminal activity. It has to be like a life or death emergency that they'll show up.
Right.
So we're seeing that happen now, where towns are closing their departments, they're cutting back. So we always say nobody's going to save you. You're on your own. So, and that's scary to me.
Yeah.
That's where you have towns, because now you're inviting problems. You're inviting what's going to happen. The criminals are going to go into those areas where they know they can get away with it, where there's not going to be police patrol, where there's not going to be response. That's what's going to happen. And you're not going to, what are you going to do? Hire private security?
Well, that's what some of these cities have actually resided to.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the parishes in New Orleans are doing that.
In Detroit,
doing it. Yeah.
Chicago, and now you got New York stepping in with their National Guard. And everybody knows there's a fine line between the military and law enforcement. They don't follow the same. The National Guard is not going to follow the same policies and procedures as New York the police department is. They're going to operate at a totally different level. They're going to uphold the state laws, but they're not going to follow New York Police Department's policies. No. What?
No.
Come on.
No, and I've heard a lot of stories about regular citizens being harassed down in the subways or down there in New York, or not down there, but down the subways in New York. And I've heard a lot of citizens having a hard time with the National Guard out that way. It's too bad. But what about the DNC coming to Chicago?
So that's going to be interesting.
They're already starting to post things about that to rise up against it.
Yeah, that's true. All that for you Chicago people, I feel bad. Well, the black community is definitely the most loud, if you will, out of everyone, the most vocal, and they have every right to be. They're pissed. They're pissed because now somebody else is getting all the things that they were getting for the most part and more, and they're pissed. Or the places where there was like a sanctuary for them to stay warm. It was a hot meal. They got kicked out. Veterans, our homeless vets, they got kicked out. So now you have this whole community pissed off, which they, by right, they're saying you're not going to have the DNC. And if you think you are, think again. I mean, they even threatened violence. They did. They threatened violence. It's not going to be peaceful. They said flat out, the DNC will not be peaceful in Chicago. And I firmly believe in that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some. I've seen some Instagram posts already. What they're gonna do with that? When is that? I don't even remember when it is. Summertime, sometime, right? Or is it April? Is it April?
No, I think it's August 18th or August 12th, something like that. It's It's like right around that time period.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be another interesting event. I mean, how are people going to handle? Look, if you live in the city of Chicago, you might want to start making plans now to be away from the city that whole weekend. Because I'll tell you right now, if any of that comes to light, or it actually happens rather, oh boy, we saw how bad it can get.
Yeah.
And I think it can get worse. I think it's got the
Yeah.
potential to get a lot worse. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, here we go. We got the trolls dressed like militia and 100 pounds overweight. Get in shape. How we dress like militia? I'm just curious. I got a green hat in my head, and I mean, how we just like militia, Nathan? But thanks for the advice. 100 pounds overweight. I appreciate that. Cool. Um, we welcome keyboard commandos. We love it. We
Yeah.
love it. But I'd like to know why we're dressed like militia. That's interesting. I guess if any kind of camouflage, I guess, makes you militia. I don't know. But anyway, we
Well,
know eventually they start coming in.
if we had like real tree on, they would call us rednecks for sure.
Right.
So
Yeah,
there's like certain camo types that you could wear. They mean different things.
right. According to the trolls, we had to be,
What's this guy?
right.
Nathan Tabor?
Yeah.
Thank you for contributing to nothing. But anyways, it's
Just
it's like guys like that, you know. It's like
keep the algorithm going, so we appreciate it. Keeps the algorithm going. So bad comments, good comments, whatever it is, it keeps the algorithm going. It helps with the points. So we welcome the trolls too. Welcome. Happy Saturday.
happy Saturday. You know, these guys are the same guys that, you know, you'll be on the streets one day and shit will be hitting the fan. And you never know. Maybe that guy that you're making fun of is saving your ass. Just saying. Just a thought. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Or maybe I don't.
yeah, you know, I don't know, man. You know, you gotta wonder. It makes you wonder what contingency plans, if any, they have for that day.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, I mean, you gotta wonder what they have in place for that, because we're getting closer. I know we're only we're only in March going into April, but still, that's gonna, you know how fast that's gonna come, and we haven't even hit summer yet. So
Yeah, summer's gonna be
again,
interesting.
it goes back to being that prepared citizen, having a bag, you know, like the ones we were talking about, especially if you're in the city, and being prepared for those situations, because you don't know what's going to happen. You
Yeah,
know, hell, maybe it's going to be like that Project Bluebeam or whatever the hell that you know people were talking about with the holographic projections or whatever through the air.
yeah. I just learned about that too not too long ago. I didn't even know that was a thing. I learned about that from Sheepdog.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know that was a thing. I was like, what? I went down the rabbit hole on it. So when the shit hits the fan, I hope you're able to run a mile without losing your breath. Well, let me ask you this, Nathan. Um, what scenario will we all be running around like crazy people with like running miles away, just running for no reason at all and running nowhere? Are you asking if we can shoot, move, and communicate? Yes. But are you asking them? I'm just going to run like a crazy person and go and run a mile away. For what reason? What are we doing? Where are we going? So but thanks for the again, thanks for the I'm glad you're concerned about us and our breath and our health. um so
Oh
that's funny.
man, it
That's
goes back
funny.
to our last live video.
Yeah.
Oh my god, these guys are something else.
Yeah.
But you
So
know,
but it goes back to like we talked about before when we first started about the warnings we're getting from the federal government. I hopefully people get out there and do the things and train and just keep doing the things. Fitness is you sound like an idiot. Fitness is important if you're talking about fighting. Nobody said fitness isn't important. There's also, we've talked about this before. There's also a thing called fat fit, and there's a not that everyone's not combat fit, not everyone's combat ready. But as long as you don't fool yourself and trick yourself, and you continue to do the things that you know you can do, and test your limits, and nobody said that being fit and being an athlete isn't important. But we're not all the same, are we, Nathan? So, but yeah, hey, again, I appreciate your cool advice. So, but again, like we always say, none of these trolls. If we were at a gas station pumping gas, no one's ever walked up to me and said something to me. I don't understand that. I don't understand why. Why
No,
doesn't people walk up to me and say that stuff to me or you in public?
I don't know, because there's more cowards. There's more betas than anything.
Yeah.
More
Oh,
against the
you're
West.
did we
Did they
serve? No, I didn't
enter?
serve.
I was in for a very little bit, not much. No, why does that matter? Is there like some kind of
Some people think it
um?
does, but it doesn't. We know that
Oh,
for a fact. We have seen people in the military in certain groups that didn't know how to operate an AR or don't know the difference between a 308 uh, and a 223 or so. We I'm not saying all military, but we know for a fact, and you know who I'm talking about. Didn't know the difference between different weapons, and so.
hmm.
But,
I'll do you one better. I had a conversation with a guy when I was back in school, and I asked him what he thought about the ACU, and he looked at me. He goes, "What the hell's the ACU?" I'm like, "Well, it's your uniform." I'm like,
yeah,
it's what you wear, bro. Like it's what you're
yeah,
wearing." And this was a guardsman. I'm like, "You don't know what ACU?
yeah,
Like, really?" I go, "Is this real
yeah,
life? Is this really happening right now? Like, you're National Guard. You don't know what the
yeah,
ACU is? Okay." I don't know.
yeah.
And
I've
that's
had
another there it is again. There's another institution like law enforcement. It's been hijacked, you know. Law enforcement's been hijacked too. You're getting people who
yeah,
shouldn't be in uniform
believe
serving in
me,
our country's military, you
I
know.
see it every day.
I don't know what the hell's going on. They lowered the standards. When I went in, there were guys and they were questionable, like very questionable. Um, how they got in is beyond me. I don't know. I don't know. Must have got paid. They must have paid the recruiter or they blew him or something, you
Well,
know?
it's interesting with law enforcement years ago. If you want to say back in the old timey days, they didn't have standards to get in. It was the biggest, baddest motherfucker that would get in,
Hmm.
right? And go on patrol, and they didn't have standards. And these are the same cops that were good cops that lasted for 30, 35 years in the department. They got on because, they knew somebody or they just tested and they got on. They didn't have they weren't street lawyers. They didn't have college education. They were just hardworking guys that got on to departments and were good cops. They were salty dogs who we all know, that generation of law enforcement. And unfortunately, a lot of the law enforcement now has changed. Like we said earlier, a lot, that comes with defunding the police and the budgets and the budget cuts. And cops that actually know better want nothing to do with what's going on right now. They don't
Right.
want to go to a job knowing that the end of their life could be ended, not only from a bad guy situation, but their own department not having their backs and being hung out to dry.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
if you have to think twice about pulling that trigger on a situation when you're a Leo and you go into a situation and you got to think twice if you should pull the trigger or not, the bad guy is not going to think twice. He's just going to shoot you. But if you have to think about now, well, my whole life will be ruined. I have a wife, I've got a family, on my pension, everything else. I don't want you. You're dead
Right.
because no one's going to back you, and people are frightened from that. So what do? You retire early and you move along, and you don't risk your livelihood because nothing's worth your livelihood when it comes to that.
No.
If you don't have
No,
backing
especially
from your own department, or your chief or whoever, you got to get out.
yeah, if well, and that's just it. Like with the whole like that Minnesota Police Department or the Minneapolis Police Department. What I forget what how they do it or districts or precincts, but the chief of that specific one, they were told to leave it and let it burn.
Yeah.
They were on that documentary on YouTube. The Fall of Minneapolis or something.
Hmm.
Lied. The
I
chief
couldn't
was
finish, by the
lying.
way. I couldn't
What's
finish it,
that?
by the way.
You
I
never
couldn't finish
finished
it.
it?
I was
Oh,
too. I was too irritated. I was. It enraged me. I couldn't finish it. I still will. But it enraged me.
they lost so many officers because of that.
Hmm.
Hundreds and hundreds. Like just that was it. They were done.
Yeah.
And that's just it. Now they've lowered their standards, just like the military has lowered their standards. They've raised the bonuses, so now they're literally paying people to get in, like literally paying them to get in, and now they're allowing immigrants to become officers. Like you have
Well,
people from third world countries coming
yeah,
here
yeah,
with that mentality, and now they're cops and they're in our military. You
yeah,
know, but there's a difference between the ones that came here in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, what have you. They came here, they were proud, they were here, they couldn't wait. They learned the language really quick. They couldn't wait to contribute to society.
right,
These guys, I mean, they're what are we doing?
yeah.
I mean, we opened up the floodgates. We did. We opened up the floodgates for the worst of the worst. They're not
Yeah, we don't know
sending
who's here.
us their
We don't know
brightest
who's
and their
here.
best. We don't know who's here.
No, we
That's
don't.
why I said earlier, if the shit were to hit the fan tomorrow, these migrants outnumber us already. It would be a field day. It would be an
Yeah.
absolute chaotic situation. Because especially the Venezuelan gangs.
Mm.
What do you think we'd be dealing with, especially in the inner city? Thank God I have no plans to go to the city.
Yeah, I don't
But
either.
the
I stay
city
away.
will be overran with criminals. It will be gang. It'll be like something out of like what's that? Gang was it not Gangs in New York? Yeah, like kind of like Gangs in New York, but
Oh,
different.
gangs in New York. Yeah,
It was,
yeah,
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 that's what
yeah,
it would be like. I mean,
yeah.
it would be an absolute slaughter fest. Um, I don't know. There's no plans for the city. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that.
Well, and that goes back to just being prepared for anything. Like we said, everything doesn't necessarily have to be SHTF.
Right.
Like Nathaniel, whatever his name is, said like SHTF. Everything doesn't have to be SHTF. It could be a simple thing that happens that disrupts our daily life. It could be your commute to work. It could be whatever it might be. It could be a riot in some city. It could be anything. Um, you need to be prepared for whatever comes down your way, and that means when you leave the house, are you prepared?
Right.
And that also means um, whether you're combat fit or not, you can be dangerous, and it's important for you to be dangerous to the people who are going to do bad things to you. You know, and that means honing your skills and being prepared for things that can happen to you and the
Exactly.
aftermath, the medical part of it. It's important that you can do the dangerous things, but you need to also be able to render the aid if need be.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
be prepared for whatever could happen.
Yeah.
Um, and that's so important.
Especially now. I mean, now is we're going to be up against a hydra, right? We're not going to be up against just one thing. One thing might set everything off, but we are inevitably going to be up against a hydra. It is what it is. If there's a great war, there's going to be a great economic collapse. Or if there's a great economic collapse, there's going to be a war. There's going to be famine. There's going to be disease. I mean, it all starts to kind of branch off into like these different things, and that's why it's so important. Like we said before, have a plan. Have a plan with not just your family, but with other like-minded individuals, and always have your go bag or your EDC bag. Um, in times of peace, train yourself to the best of your abilities and capabilities, and to whatever your state allows you to do to become a more prepared individual. I'm not going to use certain terms. That's probably the best way to put it is to become a more prepared individual.
Yeah.
Um, I guess lethal, if you will, but when you
Be
have to
dangerous.
be dangerous.
That's what I keep
Yeah,
saying. Just be dangerous. Be dangerous to those who want to do bad things to you.
exactly.
You
Yeah,
know,
you know.
and that's not being a tough guy. That's still keep your gray man composure, but
Mhm.
and don't look for things. Stay out of things. Don't get involved in things.
Mhm.
Don't get involved in confrontations when you're out. Road rage is through the roof right now. I
Woo.
don't know how many. It is people just angry. People are mad. Right? When they're driving, they're mad. They're either on their phone at the stoplights or they're just mad. They're looking for something, and you know, hey, You do you. You stay. I'm not going to get involved in that.
Yeah.
Especially if you carry, you don't want to get involved in anything. Stay away from everything you can.
Yeah.
You know. But so one thing we talked about today too, you and I, is if you had to, even if you don't have to go on foot. Let's say let's say it's a bad situation. You got to get home, or you're going to bug out. No matter what it is, you want to know your routes, and you want to know what's on your routes.
Right.
What places are on your routes? Is there stores? What buildings are there? Are there facilities that you might be able to get supplies from? I'm not saying loot. I'm not saying anything like that. But if things are bad, it's everyone for themselves when it comes down to it. Again,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not saying never become a marauder. You're never become a marauder. There's too many people out there that have that plan, and you should never have that mindset. But if you had to get out of Dodge and get somewhere or get home, know what your resources are on your way home or on
Right.
your way out.
Yeah.
What's on your path, what stores, what businesses, hardware stores. That book I showed you today.
That book is beautiful. I love that book.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, some of the things you never think of. Laundry mats. Well, what do you think? I mean, just pretty much everywhere you go is going to have first aid.
Yeah.
And water, especially when you're in the urban setting, suburbs and
Oh yeah.
suburbs, and obviously, or in the city even. There are some benefits, I think, to being in the city because you have a lot of resources at your fingertips. Now you have a lot of people that think the same way, but you do have a lot of resources in the city. The
Oh yeah.
burbs we have resources too. When you get farther out in the sticks in the rural areas, your resources are a lot limited.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
You're gonna have to fight 10 times harder for those resources in the rural area than you would in the city.
right.
It is because in the city, there's so many like things and so many laws in place for people not to be able to defend themselves, or you can't have a certain size garden, or you can't have this and you can't have that. Like it's honestly and the other thing the city's have going for them too are the super rats that are in the city, in the sewer systems. If you go hungry in the city, there's a problem. All you gotta do is pop it open a sewer lid, dude. Have you
Oh
seen the size of
God!
those things? They're
I tell you what.
monsters.
Your next video, why don't you do a video about us eating sewer rats and how to catch them? And Rick made a good comment. He says people in the cities will be eating each other because they don't know how to survive. Well, first of all, we have a whole bunch of Haitians coming here right now, and that's
Oh
how they
yeah,
live. They eat each other, so you're not too
yeah.
far off from that. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it'll be mass chaos in the city if
Oh yeah.
things go bad. But my
It'd be
point
like
is
a
that
green
if you are
inferno.
like a lone wolf in the city who is a prepared individual and you have that mindset, the Minuteman mindset, and you're in Chicago, there's a lot of people that are in the cities. You do have a lot of resources, at your disposal. You gotta be one step ahead of other people. And
Exactly.
try to, but yeah, people will be they'll be eating each other. Exactly. I mean, look, they lose power for an hour and they freak out. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
we've had when we have blackouts, people are calling why there's no power. Now, I'm not saying you don't call your utility company and say, "Hey, I lost power. What's going on?" But I mean, some of these people they freak out. You know, whereas people who are prepared, they either flip the switch for on a generator or they figure it out.
Yeah.
Those rats taste like, well, I'm sure, Rick, you probably do know that because you spent some time in the jungle. So I'm sure I'll take your word for it, man. The next time we meet up, you can show us how to eat rat. And they probably do taste like squirrel. They probably taste like chicken too.
Hey, everything's better with butter. Oh God, that's nasty.
Those BUN cubes. And that's something I did a lot of research. I did a lot of reading about too. Those little BUN cubes. How do you say? Am I saying it right?
Bouillon?
Is that how you say it? Bouillon. Yeah,
Bouillon?
bouillon cube. So when you want to stay hydrated, of course. You don't want to drink too much in a situation because you don't want your body can shut down if you drink too much, and you don't want to take away your electrolytes from your system and drink so much water that you flush out, your P levels, right? So those
Oh yeah.
are huge. It's a broth. They're tasty in the hot water, but it also helps replenish your electrolytes. So those are really cheap. Something that, the chicken ones, or the beef ones. Keep them in a little container, and you can drop them in. Breach actually does that. You know, um, so in your bag.
I agree. It's whatever, like the electrolytes, right? Your body needs, and this is where I think a lot of preppers. This is a huge rabbit hole. And for those of you that are still here and sticking with us, I'm going to talk about something here. Maybe get a notepad and a pen here. And when you go on the computer, I want you guys to look up live water versus dead water. We drink dead water on a daily basis and don't even realize it. Well, Meatball, what the hell are you talking about? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, what do you mean?
So the water that comes from your faucet, let's say if you're still somebody who's drinking from the faucet, um, that's dead water. It is pumped full of so many chemicals that you literally there really is no benefit other than you're just hydrating your cells for the night. You're hydrating your cells for the day. You're not hydrating your cells, and I'm saying cells, not selves, cells for that moment, okay, in time. Whereas if you were to
Basically,
take,
you're quenching your thirst.
huh,
Basically you're quenching your thirst.
pretty much,
What you're saying? Okay.
but it's ionizing your water. It's creating live water, and how you can get an ionizer, right? An ionizing machine. Like a lot of people, they lose their mind. They're like, I got to get a reverse osmosis. No, get yourself an ionizer where it creates live cultures in your water. It will create the electrolytes in your water. It will keep you going. It will not kill everything off, and you're just drinking water just to hydrate your cells, okay, or your body rather. Whereas if you have live water, and you can get live water from eating fruits and veggies such as cucumbers, watermelons, your juicy
Okay.
stuff, tomatoes, and I'll tell you, I went down a rabbit hole, and this is what happened to me. I was working, okay, well, one day it was really hot. I was sweating my ass off. I ran out of water. I'm like, fuck, why can't I stay? I just can't get hydrated. I blew through 10 bottles of water. I don't believe in Gatorade. I think Gatorade is the worst thing for you. It's the
Yeah.
biggest scam that they push on people. Um, Gatorade is very toxic for you, but water by itself is not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it.
Right.
I had a cucumber on hand. I'm like, fuck it. Just gonna eat this cucumber. They're juicy. Do you want to know something? That one cucumber, not only did it hydrate me, it brought me back up. I was down, I was up after I had that, and I was able to finish the day and go home. But I was, still at one point, I was looking for something more, but I wasn't like how I was. Whereas with water, it wasn't
Wow.
satisfying my body, and I'm like, why is that? So I went down a rabbit hole, and that's what I did. I typed in uh, water, cucumber water. That's all I did. I typed in cucumber water, and it took me through all these different articles about live water versus dead water. For all you preppers out there, when the grid is down, being able to harness live water is what is going to carry you and hydrate you, not just for the moment, but for tomorrow.
So
It's
how
the
do you
weirdest
find
thing.
live water in a situation besides eating a cucumber?
Well, you got to figure out, you got to do your research. You got to see what is live water. You know how they say rainwater is horrible for you, right? They say don't drink the rainwater. There's acid in it.
Yeah.
Bullshit. I'll tell you why it's bullshit. They don't want you to drink that water because there's a lot of nutrients in that water. There's acid. It's going to kill you.
Yeah, they
No,
don't
it's
say
not.
that. I don't see
They used to say acid rain when we have an acid rainstorm. I've been
that.
alive I've been alive for 33 years. I have yet to experience this so-called acid rainstorm. Where is it?
I'm
Where'd it go?
almost at 50 years and I've never had an acid rainstorm.
Right? And, but now we can get these barrels. Big Brother says we can have these water catching devices now to feed our
Yeah.
gardens, but we can't use it for anything else. We can't
Yeah,
hydrate
yeah,
ourselves.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
let's think about this for a second, okay?
So
So,
Rick made it. Rick made a good, real quick. Rick, have you heard this before? Keep it in a copper kettle. It gives extra nutrients and tastes good. I never heard that before. That's interesting.
yeah, it is interesting. You know, I've never,
It
like
makes sense.
obviously when you distill water, okay, it's coming through a copper coil. I would imagine that's what they mean by like distilled water, I guess, or boiled water, what have you. Which I don't know. I'm not a water expert. I'm not the Glendale Water Boys, if you know what I'm talking about. But um, you know, I just know that there is a huge difference between live and dead water, and the dead water is what we're drinking every day. It's I gotta like right here. This here we go. The Grail filter. It works great. It will take out everything. You know, I'm not saying not use these things. Use them. It will get you through today. It'll get you through tomorrow because you have this technology. Plant yourselves a freedom garden. Make sure you have all that stuff. Try to separate, you know, the seeds and all this stuff and have just the juice. That juice is live. It's full of everything. But live water is so hard to explain to people. They've got to experience truly being thirsty, really being thirsty. And when they do, get a piece of fruit. I'm not kidding. Get a vegetable, eat it, and watch you come back to life. It's
Yeah,
like beer. You drink
yeah.
a beer,
You mentioned
let
that
me tell you
before.
something. I'm not one to drink and work. You can't do it. You just can't. I can't. But on a private job, I had a homeowner came up to me and they're like, "Here, I don't have much. Here's a beer." I'm like, "Fuck a beer." I'm like, "I'm gonna dehydrate more." Dude. That beer. Let me tell you something. That
That's what I
beer
would think.
got me going, man. I was like, "Oh my god, there's something to this. There's
Now is that
something
the
to this."
carb?
Carbs, proteins. You know, there's very tiny amount of protein in beer. Some beers have more than others. Could be your carbohydrates, the sugars, all that stuff. I'm sure it's feeding your body. But
What about that liquid IV, the powder, those little packets? Which, by the way, they taste terrible.
dude, you got it. I'll tell you what, man. I
Unless they got
love
the wrong
those.
flavor. Do you?
I swear by those things. And I was gonna talk about that too. Liquid IVs, that's good stuff. That's good stuff right there.
Yeah. I forgot what flavor we got. Passion fruit or whatever it was, and it was. And we downed it like when we were sick But um, it's expensive and they swear by it. So I've got plenty of stockpile on it of liquid IV. You
Of
know,
liquid IV.
'Cause I don't want the silver bullet. You know,
No, I think yeah,
you know what that
no, no,
you know
no.
what that is?
I
Okay,
know the
well if you're
silver
really
bullet is.
if you're dehydrated and you got your camel pack on you, up right to the rear. All right, so
Yeah,
this is legit. No, this is something we can talk about. Actually, this is a real thing. It's called the silver bullet. If you're beyond dehydrated uh, and getting because at some point there's no turning back. Once you're dehydrated, you can't like start downing drinks and it's not gonna do anything for you. You need to get a lot of liquid in you, a lot of hydration in you immediately. And if you're in the field and you're doing the things, whether you're training or whatever, and you have your hydro bladder with you and your tube with you, if you lay flat, there's a way to do it. You lay flat, you put that up your rear, the hose, and you let gravity do its thing. Turn it on and let it go through your rectum, and that'll hydrate you.
yeah.
We almost had to do it to a certain person that's on live feed right now, but he gets mad when we talk about it, so I'm not going to talk about
Yeah, you know what? I always tell people that, you know, you don't want to be getting that silver bullet because it's true. It's the fastest way to hydrate somebody is through the rectum.
it.
And you might have some sick fucks out there that might actually do it on purpose, but It's
Oh
neither
my
here
God.
nor there. I mean, it's just it is what it is. Like alcoholics. At one point that's what they start doing. They start chugging through their ass just to get the
Well,
fix.
they need to get a banana bag at that point when they go to the hospital. You go to the
Oh,
hospital for a banana bag. You're an alcoholic. I went to the hospital one time for a chest infection, and I was dehydrated. And I told the nurse, I said, I need a banana bag, and they looked at me and they said, well, why? They were so like put back for it, and I said, um, because I'm pretty dehydrated. And I was kind of like being funny. I come from the medical background, so I know what a banana bag is. And she says, well, that's for alcoholics. And are you going through alcohol withdrawal? Forget it. Forget I said anything. And my wife's like, why do you do that? Why do you say things like that? They pick you choose.
I need it for a water pillow. Why do you think I need it?
But yeah. Um, yeah. But that's very important to stay hydrated. And I did stock up. You told me about the liquid IV, and I stocked up on it.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't, and Pedialyte too. When I was a medic, we used to carry Pedialyte in all the buses and our ambulances. We carry Pedialyte for everybody, not just kids.
Right.
Pedialyte does work.
Oh yeah.
And,
Pedialyte absolutely works. Absolutely.
yeah.
You know.
And Gatorade is just nothing like Twitch says, nothing but sugar, I believe.
That's all
Oh,
it
this
is.
is sugar.
Yeah.
Even the zero. I do like that body armor, but I drink the
Mm,
zero.
body
That's it
zero.
makes it taste good. And it's also coconut water, so I don't know how great that is for you, but I drink the zero anyway.
That's your live
But
water. That's your live water. Coconut water. I didn't even think of it.
okay,
That's live water. Yeah.
do you like coconut water plain?
Oh yeah.
Oh, do
Yeah.
you see? I don't like it.
When you go out like somewhere in the Caribbean,
Mm,
they have these little coconut huts. These guys with their
yeah,
like big ass machetes, and they got the drill. They stick the straw inside. Best. It is
is
so
it
refreshing. Yeah, it's
okay?
good. Good
Yeah, I've
stuff.
never had it like that. I bought the bottles of the coconut water before, just plain coconut. And I'm like, I just. But
Yeah.
I do like it in the body armor. And yeah, they do make Pedialyte packets, and they work good. I've used them when
Yeah.
I'm sick. They work great. But I
Um,
should back up on some of those too.
there was this rice based electrolyte drink they gave us when we were in basic training. It was red, and you never saw Gatorade. You saw Powerade. Well, what we
Okay.
think was Powerades. So there was the red and the blue cup. Okay, and it had a weird taste. And I remember somebody told me it was they put saltpeter inside the red and blue drink, but they made sure you better drink your red and your blue. Drink your red and drink your blue. Like you
Really?
couldn't do like that was it. They made sure everybody had an empty, cup of red and blue. It was the
Wow.
craziest thing ever. But once we got out of reception and we went downrange, when we were there, they started giving us these like electrolyte based, uh, rice based packets to put in our camelbacks. I don't know what it
Okay.
was, but I do know it was clean because if you were to pour straight Gatorade through your camelback,
Oh yeah.
you'll have mold, you'll have all kinds. I mean, it'll just bad news bears.
Yeah.
Um, so that's another thing. Don't solely
Don't ever
rely
do
on
that.
camel. I'll be honest with you. I'm not too crazy about camelbacks.
I don't use
Um,
it myself. I, I
I like
carry
the
I carry bottled
canteens.
water in my cargo pocket. I don't use it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the camelback system anymore. I used to be. The problem with that is if you're somebody like me, you destroy everything, and those get easily punctured. I mean,
They do.
very, especially if you get the cheap ones. Oh, forget it. You might as well not even buy
Yeah.
it. Might as well
It's
let your
more
money out
weight
there.
too. Yeah. I don't use one. I've got one attached to my chest rig, and mainly because and I'm not talking about my plate carrier. My chest rig, I've got a Condor chest rig, and I like how it fits. But I found Breach had found an attachment to make it like a backpack almost.
Okay.
But it's the bladder pack. So you get rid of the cross straps in the back, and it literally replaces you put your Camelback on there, and now it hooks up to your straps, and now you've got like a chest rig with actual straps over your shoulder. But it's a Camelback, but it fits nice. I just keep it empty, and I carry. If I'm out doing things, if we're doing things, I just keep a one bottle in each cargo pocket, or you like Atlas gear, so you got a canteen on you,
Oh yeah.
that's got plenty of water in it, or if not two, you know. And now you have that. Now you get that giant thing. What is that thing? You
Oh,
got the battle bottle, whatever it's called.
for what?
Water. You bought that giant water container with the molly webbing on it and stuff, and the patch.
Are you talking about that life straw thing, the big one?
No, you bought that big battle bottle. It's like this big. You had it when we went to that one place one time with.
Oh, you're talking about like it was like a 1 gallon, like that. It had like a pouch.
Yeah,
It was
camouflage.
camouflage. Dude, you can have it all day
They're like
long. No
$90.
way.
Yeah, forget it.
It punctured a hole. It got a
Oh, did it
hole.
really?
Yeah, and
Really?
I don't know where it came from. All of a sudden one day I was drinking, getting a shower at the same time. I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I don't know what I did. Maybe I something I set it on top of, but I actually punctured a hole, and it's neoprene. But it was very thin neoprene at the bottom. I realized at the seam, and that's where the hole was. So I'm like, what a waste of money. Steel all day long. Steel water, or what do they call those? Not Navage. You know what I'm talking about. It starts with an N, I think.
Oh, not in the jailing. What's the word? Someone out there knows we're talking about. What's the word? You have a good night, Rick.
Take care.
Nalgene bottles, right?
Yes,
Nalgene,
those.
yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
love Nalgene bottles. I love them. They're great,
Yeah.
and they're cheap to pick up, and they don't ooze chemicals in there, and they got big mouths, so you can put ice in there. I love the Nalgene bottles.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you what. The canteens, yeah, my LBV, I run 2 canteens. You have to. You'd be amazed at how fast you're gonna go through water, especially if you're, doing things and you're sweating and it's just, or if you're doing patrol your property in a shit the fan situation. You'd be surprised how much water you're gonna drink if you're doing a patrol, or
Oh
just
yeah,
walking the perimeter. Something
yeah,
as simple as that,
for
you
sure.
know. And
Well,
that's
one
another
one
thing.
thing I drink a lot. Now, see, one thing my downfall is coffee. I drink, and that's diuretic. I drink a lot of coffee, and then of course this, and
Oh
this
yeah.
dehydrates. This dehydrates you. Not only does it actually like physically dehydrate you, but it gives you the cotton mouth eventually. And look at your face. You're like, "Ee," like, it's like you but it dehydrates you. It also, it eventually gives you cotton mouth. You got to keep drinking. But but I drink a lot of coffee, and it's diuretic, and it's a catch 22. You're not going to stay hydrated, I don't think, if you drink a lot of coffee. You
No.
know, so
Coffee, horrible, horrible,
yeah,
horrible, horrible. When you're trying to stay
yeah,
higher, no,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
And so is beef jerky. You know,
Especially the beef jerky you had today. That's
now
why I
there,
couldn't. Did you finish the bag? Is it gone?
dude, my son. I came home and he was like, "Ooh, steak." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's not that kind of steak, dude. Like, chill out. Like,
Mm.
you can't just eat it like a steak. Take a little bit." And he doesn't like spicy, and that stuff was like peppered, I think. And he's
It
just
was
sitting there.
peppered. It was
He's like, "It's
peppered.
good." I'm like, "All right, if you like it, man." But
It
dude,
was
I
good
was
stuff.
drinking water like crazy.
That's why I had to stop because I just the few pieces I had to get a drink. It was so peppered. Plus, I drink a
Holy
lot of
crap!
coffee. I drink a lot of coffee this morning. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. So I mean, and that's another thing too. That, a lot of times we have to change our life habit, our styles of what we do daily routine. If it's a situation where you're grid down or bug out or whatever it might be, you might want to not drink that coffee.
right.
It might just keep it for morale purposes. I always have a few of those packets in all my bags of the instant coffee, which I love. But maybe keep that as more of just a morale thing, you know,
Coffee.
or a great thing is a trade. What about that? Do you keep stuff in your bag for trading for bartering?
You know, I like to think everything I have in my bag could be used as bartering. What if I
Well,
have
sure,
something?
yeah,
What if I have something you want and you have something I want, right? And we barter like that, you know?
yeah.
Maybe
A good
having
thing, something interesting that was brought to my attention about a year ago, from someone who we know. She showed us her bag, and she pulled out a couple little bottles of the airplane liquor bottles.
oh yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, "Gee, I guess you don't want to, go without, huh?" She says, "No. First of all, I think it'd be a good, for cuts and scrapes and stuff, but it's also a barter thing.
Yeah.
People might want this." It's like, boy, that's a really good thought. Someone's gonna want, especially if someone who's an alcoholic or a drunk in a situation that's a SHTF, which again, the word SHTF can cover any kind of situation, not just like forever. Someone might need a sip of their booze because they're alcoholics and they need to have it. You have it in your bag. You got those little airplane bag. You trade them for it,
Yeah.
or at least maybe trade your safety for it. Hey, leave me alone, and I'll give this to you. Um, you know how to make alcohol. That's a good thing to make. That's
Yeah,
if you know how to make it.
that's good.
That's a great. Yeah, that's a great thing to know how to make is alcohol.
You'll
I
be
have no
rich.
idea where to start. Well,
Yeah,
you make
that's
wine.
yeah. Yeah, we make wine. Family makes wine. But that's a completely different process for
Yeah.
making alcohol. But like the alcohol, I'm sure he's talking about. And the alcohol that he's talking about is going to be good for cleaning wounds, keeping things clean, bartering, like you were just saying. What else? Fuel, some kind of a fuel source.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it just sky's the limit for medical purpose. Yeah, it is. It's good for. You're right. Alcohol is good for medical purposes. You're right. Look, and it should hit the fan situation. I think we're going to revert back. A lot of us are going to end up reverting back to those old school ways of doing things, if you will. It's just one of them things. It's going to come back to us again. Somewhere, somebody is we're going to come across is going to teach us a lost art, if you will. That's why I say, like the media and the government likes to make fun of, let's say the I call the forgotten class in America, which would be like, your white impoverished Americans. The ones that they make fun of, the ones they call hicks, the ones they call rednecks. Those are the people that are going to survive.
Oh,
Those people are
sure.
so smart. They
Yeah.
know, they know what they're doing, and they can
Yeah.
outsmart, live, out pace you in every like thing you can even imagine.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
and those are the guys that are going to do just fine. They're going to do well, and those are the ones you want to learn from. And those are the ones you can't look down on them the way the media does. I mean, it's unfreaking believable. It's unbelievable the way they do. But going back to what we were saying about the alcohol thing is my point is this with that. Those guys know how to make it. And they've been using it for other purposes
Mm.
for a long time, and especially medical. Like here, perfect example marijuana. Marijuana has been on this planet. It's been planted by our forefathers. George Washington had plantations full of it. The Native Americans swore by it. I mean, the whole 9 yards. You mix marijuana and alcohol, and now you create the best medicine that you can imagine for colds, for viruses, for bugs. You rub that shit on your body, and I don't know what it is. Dude, it is like the greatest thing ever. It sucks all the toxins in your body out. I don't know what it is.
Mm.
It's my grandmother. Okay, she's old school Italian. Still has all her knowledge from the old school ways of doing things. One time I went to go visit her, um, and this is kind of like bushcraft medical, right? This is bushcraft medical, in my opinion. She's got the alcohol and she's got the bay leaves soaking in the alcohol. My stomach was upside down. I don't know what it was. I told her, I go, Nona, my stomach is killing me. I need something. She's like, okay, don't worry, I got you. Okay. She gave me this shot glass of this stuff. It tasted like I was drinking like a pine tree. What I would imagine a pine tree would taste like. I downed this shit, right? It was delicious. I'm not gonna don't get me wrong. I thought Kris Kringle was gonna come out my mouth. Like that's how Christmassy it tasted. And I had the stuff, and dude, my stomach, I gurgle, done. Whatever
Really?
was in there, I'm like, what is this? And she's like, it's just Bailey's and alcohol. She goes, this is what we used to give all the back in Italy. That's what they used to give people with stomach issues, where they would drink
Wow.
like a tonic water with that mixture. Oh yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So stuff like that book, The
Well,
Lost Ways. You ever
yeah.
hear about the
Yeah.
Lost Ways
Oh, yeah.
preparedness?
Yeah.
Stuff like that is in there, and we've lost
Yeah.
that. That's why it's called The Lost
Yeah.
Ways.
Well, that goes back to like eating like like pine needle tea. That does so much for you, and it's easy to
Oh yeah,
grab. If you've never done it, try it. You got pine needles everywhere. You make tea with it, and it does so much for you. That it's great for you.
oh yeah.
It's important. And it's like Anarchy Television says, skills are going to be more important than stuff.
Yes,
Absolutely. Hone
yes,
those skills. Hone those
yes.
skills. Learn how to do those things. Um, read the books, watch the videos, get the training. Keep the references with you. Don't keep them just on your phone because you're gonna want to may not be able to have power on your phone. You want to go back and look at books and take notes. I'm a big firm believer taking notes, jotting things down that you learn in a little book. Keep it in your bag. You never know when you have to go back for research or reference.
And that's
You know.
that's the truth. That is the truth. And like he said, skills are going to be more important than stuff. Like he was saying earlier, your skills is going to get you through tomorrow. Your stuff is going to get you
Right.
through today. All
Right.
your gear you have, all the stuff that the prepping community has, this technology that is eventually going to break. You're going to run out of, and there ain't going to be more of. It's so that you can get through today to think how you're going to get through tomorrow. And when you can hone in those skills to get through tomorrow, you're golden, man. It's just you start taking care of the little things now. When the big thing happens, believe me, it's not gonna be as bad, if you will, for maybe like certain aspects. If you're lacking in like some kind of form of fire making, or you're lacking in some kind of form of water purification or shelter building, what have you.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
had to do those things, my point is do these things now, hone those skills in now, so this way you're not solely relying on all the stuff you bought off of Stealth Angel or the stuff that you did at 11. You bought at 11 o'clock at night with me, you know, you just, or your battle box. If you're relying on your battle box stuff, no, I would not rely on your battle box. I would not rely on your battle box stuff. Absolutely not. No, unless you're getting the like highest grade one where they almost send you a freaking. Well, actually, I think they do send you a canoe. You get a canoe. They start sending you blades. They send you all kinds of
A
crazy stuff.
canoe. They
Oh
mail you
yeah,
a canoe to your house.
I
I
think
didn't know that.
the top tier one. I remember one of their packages, if I remember correctly, one of their boxes, their battle boxes that they sent like a self-inflating canoe. Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, so you can, you sit there and you blow it up. Like, well, I don't know how you would have any energy after you got done doing this, but yeah, that's what it was. It's
Wow.
self-inflating canoe or something like that along those lines.
That brings me in another thing too. I don't know if you hear my dog snoring over here. My dog sounds like a pig. You hear my dog snoring? That's not. I don't have pigs running around the house. That's my fat chihuahua over there snoring. Um, I watched the video. I love his channel. Fun in the Woods, and he's all about what to do, bugging out, survival, bushcraft, and he did a video on he had come across an old like a raft, like a two-person little like yellow like those yellow rafts you use out in like in the ocean or maybe even a pool. Nothing real strong that you dig like whitewater rafting, but it's a raft that's made to little paddles on it. We've all seen them, you inflate them, and he came across one at a yard sale or something brand new, and he bought it, and it comes up rolled up, and he put it in his bag. He put it in his big Alice pack, and he lives in an area that's got a lot of water and a lot of creeks and streams and rivers, and he tested it out and it was pretty cool. And I thought, boy, that's another situation that I don't live in areas that have a lot of waterways, but he does. He lives in a lot of
Right.
swampy areas, and he he did a scenario of bugging out, and he pulled that little raft out when he got to the point where he had to get out and go through the water, and he had taken one oar and cut it in half and then strapped it to his bag. So he had two
Oh,
little paddles, and
there
he
you
was
go.
able to, with one hand, just use his little oars. And he got in this, and he had, of course, he put a camera set up and all that, and he got in his little boat, little blow up raft, and he went down the creek, the river. Than was in front of him. That was genius.
Yeah.
That was genius. And that goes back to, like, situations that, know your terrain, know what kind of situation you might be in. And everybody's different things in their bag. And that's a thing that, a little raft. So, yeah, when you mentioned canoe and battle box, I thought of that right away. I meant to talk about that before. We talked about bug out bags, and your bug out bag, you might have a raft in there. You can get some rafts pretty small.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind adding that. I would not mind adding that to my bag.
You're
Because
gonna
you
be
know
on
what?
Amazon now. After we get done, you're gonna go on Amazon. You're gonna look for a 2-man little raft, and you're gonna be. It's not a bad idea.
You know me
It
all
is
too
not a
well.
bad idea. I know
No.
I do. I'm not.
No.
I'm not too bad. I'm thinking the same things.
Well,
Uh,
I
with,
looked into them. They're expensive, but I have looked into them.
oh yeah, and
They are.
if you have to keep it in your if you have to keep it in your truck or your vehicle, your trunk of your car, you never know when you may have to come across and use one.
Right.
And I happen to drive parallel with a certain river every day back and forth to work, and I watch it all the time. And sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low. I really don't see a purpose where I would have to go on that river, but maybe I would. You know what I mean? And maybe I would say, hey, I can't get home on with my drive, but I know I can get home on this river, and it's not a very big
Right.
river, and you know what I'm talking about. But I could definitely take a little raft, a little floaty raft, and put my gear there and get home.
I think that if you're going from north to south to stay hidden, it would behoove you to go to a water source if you know how to navigate that specific water source. Get
Mhm.
on that canoe and use that to navigate and get around faster. I mean, if
Yeah,
you think about it, if you're going from north to south and that water's flowing south and you're going south, but you can't travel on foot, you can't travel on a car or in a car, um, the next best thing, find a main water source that's traveling that direction, get your canoe and go. You know,
yeah.
I see the need for it. I definitely see the need
I
for it.
already
Having
do.
it,
Yeah,
you know, it's
yeah,
there. It's
yeah.
definitely there.
And if you got to
You know,
commandeer one somewhere and find it laying on the shore somewhere, or who knows, you could always probably try to find a canoe somewhere, or
yeah,
a kayak somewhere. But Anarchy Television wrote, remember, your prep is only as good as you can protect it. Well, that's what we're talking about.
yeah,
You want to be able to protect your preps, and that means on your body and in your home or your
yeah.
car or wherever you go, because there'll be the wolf will take it away from you.
Oh
So
yeah,
you need to make sure, and that goes with everyday scenario. That goes with taking away your preps could be to take away your money at a gas station when you're pumping your truck, your car full of gas. No one's gonna take that from me. Um, and you need to be able to protect it. And doing so means to hone your skills and train yourself to do so. Not just
exactly.
think that you're just going to do it. You have to be able to know how to do it. So
Yeah,
that's
you have
exactly your prep is only as good as you can protect. Right.
only yeah. That's the truth. That's the truth. I mean, we always talk about marauders being a threat, and they are a real threat. But
Mhm.
it's also your neighbors, and we
Yeah.
talked about this before, and people that you've invited into your house, you know. It's like how many times have you had a contractor come over to your house and maybe they got to work where you keep some of your preps and they see it? They're gonna
Yeah. You got to
remember
cover
that.
that up.
They're gonna
Yeah. Oh,
remember
yeah.
that. You know.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to being. Unfortunately, you can only cover so much of it at your house, but being try to be as gray as you can. That means, don't drive around with all the stickers on your vehicle and your political views. And I don't dial 911 and keep honking. I'm reloading. Get rid of all
Yep.
that on your vehicle. Get rid of it, especially nowadays. It was, it was cute, 10 years ago. It was a way to recognize your fellow, like-minded individuals out there. But, don't drive around with that shit in your vehicle. You're just a
No.
target nowadays. And if something was to go down, let's say we did have martial law. Believe me, the person with the vehicle that's got the stickers on there, that's representing 2A or whatever it might be, you're the first person that they're gonna want to stop, and they're gonna want to
Oh
flip over.
yeah, no doubt, no
Yeah.
doubt.
Or Marauder's gonna want to cut you off, and they're gonna know you have stuff in there, and they're gonna want to take what you have.
Oh yeah.
So, you know,
Look,
um,
look.
don't be advertising.
No, don't be advertising. In the perfect situation, I think in recent memory, and maybe you'll agree with me on this one, we got a taste of what it would look like with Katrina. We got a taste
Oh
of
yeah,
what it would look like with Katrina because what did we see with Katrina? We saw a complete collapse of resources. We saw the collapse of emergency first responders that were trying to get to people, but were stopped because of gangs, people shooting at them, not knowing who they were. Same thing with like with the government coming in, taking. I think they were actually taking people's firearms away because so much crime, all the crime that was running rampant through Katrina. Katrina was literally. I mean, think about it. It was a perfect storm, and it was a natural storm, no pun intended, that took place. It was a natural disaster. What followed it was the crime, the disease that
right,
spread,
right. That was
viruses.
the
What
worst
have
part
you.
about it.
Oh yeah, and it
Yeah.
got violent. It did get violent. I mean, people were
Oh,
getting shot at.
just in the Superdome alone, it was terrible. It was a cesspool. And
Yep.
they were also put in a situation where they were in a facility that had leaking. It was hot. It was terrible. And so the human mind can only take so much. You can only take so much.
Oh yeah.
And when you put people in a cage like rats, they're gonna act like rats, and it's gonna be every man for themselves, and they're gonna start acting up. And we're seeing it now in migrant camps where they're acting up and they're attacking each other, and bad things are happening, and they're assaulting each other, and um, they're assaulting cops when they go into these migrant camps or these shelters, whatever they call them. Anarchy wrote, I know people right now that whole prep is to take your stuff. Well, let me tell you about that. That's a real thing. That is a real thing. I can tell you firsthand that there are definitely groups out there that, and when I say groups, I mean they consider themselves patriot groups or mad groups or whatever the word is for it, and they train and they have the mindset of to take from people, and that's it.
Yep.
Um, to steal from people, to loot from people, and take your stuff, and that's what they do. And so that's a real thing, and that's not just a Hollywood movie script. That's a real thing. So Marauders are real.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be something like you see from Mad Max, although there are groups that have that mindset. But again, it goes back to your neighbors. You don't know know who your neighbors are, because they could be coming to your door wanting your stuff. And when their wife and their kid is starving, believe me, that person's gonna do whatever it takes to get stuff. And that goes back to something else. If you're bugging in, okay, do you give any of your preps to anybody that comes to your door just to get them by? So either out of uh, as like a good Christian, let's say, out of your heart, as a good human being, or so we don't want any problems. Here, take this. That's all I got for you. But take this. There's some food. But be gone. Don't come back. Do you do that, or do you just completely tell them no?
You know, let's look at it like this: you open yourself up in a way if you do. If that part of you, if that Christian side of you says yes, give it to them. You open up yourself and you make yourself vulnerable. And here's what I mean by that: you do that, and now that person sees that you have stuff to give. Well, if you're no longer alive, you don't need any of it, and they could take it.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think that's not running through their mind.
Yeah.
That's how you have got to think. That's why I say it's gonna suck. Okay, you're gonna piss off a lot of people, if you will, in your inner, not your inner circle, but like within your inner social circle, if you will, like your relatives, your friends. But again, if they're really your friends, they're gonna listen to what you have to say, and they're gonna go down that rabbit hole with you. Okay, a good friend will, at least. And maybe they join you and they get on board with it. Then you don't have to worry about doing that to your friend or your
Mm-hmm.
relative. Um, to answer your question, no, I would not give them. I wouldn't give it to them. I
Yeah.
have what I have, and that's enough for me and my family. I
Yeah.
don't have anything extra to give.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it, it sounds bad, but good people are going to be doing bad things to other
Yeah.
people.
They will be
It's just,
people
it is what it is.
who you didn't expect it, and maybe be family members that might do bad things to you.
Yeah,
You
it's
know.
going to be bad. That's going to be
Yeah.
bad.
Because I always think that. Like, I always think like do you keep on hand a certain amount of preps separately, basically like a throwdown prep or just to get you out of a situation. Um, to keep someone happy or someone that just so that hey, I don't want any problems. Take this, but don't come back. Um, so like you said, now you're opening yourself up to um, a whole other thing. And like desperate people will do desperate things in desperate times. Um,
Yes. Yes.
you absolutely, you do what you got to do, and I understand that you do what you got to do. We're all animals, and we will, when it comes down to it, we will do what we have to do to feed our family, our loved ones.
Oh yeah,
However, we choose not to be the marauder, and we choose to be prepared.
exactly. And there's a
You
big
know,
difference a big difference in mindset and difference in character between a marauder and a prepper.
right?
You're gonna look, if you're a prepper, you need to prep for marauders. Marauders are prepping to take your shit. Exactly what Anarchy said. Um, they're prepping to take your stuff. Period. Um, Whereas the prepper is already preparing for whatever situation may come, including the marauder. A good prepper is going to prepare for that marauder. Um, and it's a message I guess I would have for the marauders out there, is don't do it. Don't think
Don't
about it.
do it. Don't
Don't
do
even
it.
try.
Don't
Don't
do
do
it.
it.
It's not going to get you anywhere. If you have that mindset, turn that around now. Where you have because if you have a mindset where you're trained to be a marauder, you have the mindset to train for something. Train to be good, not bad.
Right.
Don't be lazy and just train to take things from people. It's not gonna
Exactly.
get. Because I'll tell you what's gonna happen. You're gonna find yourself up against people who, again, like we always say, who are dangerous, more dangerous than you, and it's not gonna end well for you. So
You, you
don't
know,
don't be a marauder.
it's it reminds me of that show, The Walking Dead, in a way. There's that season where we're introduced to Negan. Okay. I don't know if you follow The Walking Dead at all, but
I watched it when it first came out, of course, because I had to. I was like, oh yeah, and then I think we watched maybe like 2 seasons, and that was it.
so I'll tell you what, when you have a chance, go to the seasons. I think it was like a span of like 2 or 3 seasons, but go to the season where they first introduced Negan. Now, you want to talk about interesting? That guy's character is exactly the type of people you're going to find yourself encountering in a grid
Marauder.
down yes,
Is that the
Marauder
guy
to
with
the
the bat?
umpteenth degree.
Is that the guy with the bat, with the barbed wire and the bat?
Yes,
Okay,
yep,
okay.
that's the one. That's Dave Chappelle made a skit about that. Oh man, you got to watch. You watch The Walking Dead Negan, and then watch the Dave Chappelle Negan. It is, oh my god, it is funny.
I'll look it
It's
up. I'll
funny.
look it up. I'll look it up. Yeah, I don't know the characters on that show or like I said, I watched the first 2 seasons. I know that guy because I just have seen him on TV and I know who he is just from TV. I didn't know his name, but I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, that season there is a good one. But then that another good well, the show that you guys that you turned me on to was Jericho.
Oh yeah, that's a show
Jericho.
that people like us will sit down and take notes.
Yes.
It
Yes.
really is.
Yep.
You
Like
know,
watching film, man. Just like watching
yeah,
film after a football
yeah,
practice or a football game, rather.
yeah, yeah. It really, and that's not living like LARPing or living like in a fantasy land or whatever. That's literally like, gee, what you should always have scenarios in your mind of what could happen, or
Oh
see
yeah.
things and say, what, gee, if that happened, what would I do in the situation? Or that's exactly what I'm training for that to happen. So yeah, I watched that show and I was like, oh my god, I was like, that was a great show. If people out there have not seen, I'm sure most people watching the show have seen Jericho. If you have not seen Jericho, watch Jericho. Do yourself a
Mhm.
favor and watch that series.
Yeah.
It's an older series, right?
Yeah, it's from the early 2000s, I think. I
Yeah,
wish they would come back out with it, but they would
yeah,
have to restart. They would have to restart completely over because the cast
yeah,
now is much older.
yeah,
Um, they would have to restart from scratch. There is a series coming out called Homestead
yeah.
that I think everybody is pretty much like really anticipating for that release. It's kind of like a Jericho, um, but it's with the current times. So we'll see. That's
Well,
another good one.
we're all waiting for Civil War to come out.
Man, I I was reading the first reactions from people who've already done early viewings. You know how they do that?
Yeah,
Early viewings, and they do first reactions. I guess it was like people were like sick to their stomach.
that's what I heard.
Yeah, I heard they were sick to their stomach about it. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what we're in for.
I've heard
Um,
I heard that now this could just be hearsay, but I've heard that they're when I say they, I don't know who they is, but I've heard that they are trying to postpone it from being released at all
oh
or try to move it up.
yeah,
Especially what's going on down at the border.
yep.
So, but I'm interested because Kristen Dunst is she's a liberal, and she's playing a part in that movie. So I'm interested,
Yeah.
but I'm interested to see how that movie goes. I think she plays a journalist though, but I'm really interested to see where that movie goes.
I think we all are. I don't think we really they only gave us enough to keep us like interested. And I'll tell you what, the producer himself, if you want to know how the movie's going to be, you got to go down on like a rabbit hole on the producer. Because if
Yes,
the producer is like, one of left leaning, if you will,
yeah.
then obviously it's going to be a movie that bashes, prepper groups and like all that stuff. And,
It looks
the,
funny, makes it look stupid, and
oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
um, so we'll see. Like, I seen like rumors that it's, some kind of like LGBT thing because the sniper scene, he's got like painted fingernails and the one
I
guy's
didn't
got painted.
realize it until I watched the trailer for the fourth time, and I saw his fingernails, and I'm like, That's
Yeah,
weird." And his hair,
yeah,
and I
it's
was like,
weird, right?
okay. There's something with
So
this.
I don't know what you know what I mean. It's like a weird. What are we
Hmm.
getting ourselves into thing? So we'll see. We're gonna be in for a treat either way. I think. I'm real surprised, but from first reaction, I heard it was stomach turning. So
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. Yeah,
well,
yeah,
the storyline, kind of going. It goes hand in hand with what we're seeing now in Texas. Remember we were talking about that. All these Abbott-backed politicians got elected and voted in, and now they're all saying that that was done on purpose because they're going to try to actually succeed because they're
yep,
all pro-succession politicians that got into Texas. And
yep.
who's in the movie fighting Texas?
Right.
So
Well, they have the two stars in the flag,
yeah.
which is interesting. So,
Where have we seen that
um,
before?
two stars.
Two stars with the stripes. Where have we seen that before? Wasn't that
I
on
don't
the
know.
Jericho flag? Wasn't that in the movie or the show Jericho? Wasn't that the flag? It was a
You
little
know, I
different.
don't. It might be. I think you might be right. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't exactly that, but it was something close to that. Yeah.
A lot of similarities to some of those things. I just find it weird that this movie is coming out, you know, during this time period that we're living in, coming off the heels of Leave the World Behind, coming up to an election. I just find it very odd, right? Like,
Yeah. I know. I know.
what do we
It's
do?
kind of like this. It's kind of like the Simpsons. The Simpsons are always predicting what's going to happen.
Yeah, Homer's a prepper. Homer becomes a prepper.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you want to know what's going to happen in the future? Just watch a couple episodes of The Simpsons. They'll tell you. And then,
Agreed.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's getting interesting out there. That's for sure. That is for sure.
Does anybody
What
out
is,
there have any questions for us? They want to talk about, or any topics they want to discuss? I know we're going on 2 hours here, but we've talked a lot. We haven't taken a lot of questions, but does anybody have any questions?
Mustard McFly? What kind of shotgun is that? Where I don't see no
I,
shotgun.
I don't see a shotgun.
I don't know. I think he's seeing things. Dude, man, what movie are we talking about? Oh, we're just talking about the movie Civil War.
Yeah, Civil War that comes out in April sometime. We're talking about that. We were
Yeah,
talking about the series Jericho, but
yeah,
we're talking about the movie Civil War. If you're not familiar with it, do us a favor, and if you are watching this because you're into the same things we are, you'll enjoy the preview for it, and you'll be looking forward to see it like we are. And again, we don't want we don't want things to happen.
no,
We don't want civil wars to happen. I don't want to live like that. But it's interesting to see how people's take on what could happen.
yeah.
And I always look at anything like that as more uh, stuff to put in my brain and with the scenarios, if you will, to think about.
It is a very likely scenario. I mean, every superpower in the history that since mankind has been alive, there's been more than one civil war that's taken place. We've had one. We've had a revolution. And I believe we're overdue. I truly believe. I think it's
Yeah,
just the natural flow, the natural thing to go through for a superpower, which
yeah.
we're finding ourselves on the edge. Are we a superpower? Are we not a superpower now anymore?
Dude,
We're not.
people are pissed at everything right
People are
now.
pissed. People are pissed. And they've stoked. They're fanning the flames with the election. They're fanning the
Yeah,
flame. They 2020, forget about it. I mean, they I think they pretty much, it was a line drawn in the sand, and it was pretty clear what side you were on.
yeah,
And again, it's here we are again. We are reliving it all over again. You have a Trump Biden election coming up. You have all these different circumstances now. We are facing World War III possibilities. We are facing the Trojan horse at the border, uh, another possible pandemic, the collapse of the economy. I mean, I could just keep going on, and people are pissed, and people want answers, and they're looking and they're blaming. Now they want somebody to blame. Um, but more importantly, this migrant thing is really getting people to the point where, okay, it's upending their livelihood.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that is where we're going to see the potential for some kind of a hot situation, where it could turn into the beginnings of either a revolution or a civil war.
Yeah, you start messing with people's pocketbook and livelihood, things that we get up every day and go to work for a reason,
Yep.
and we sacrifice for a reason. You start messing with people's pocketbooks, and you start messing with people's. Yeah, that's when people said that's their line of the sand.
Yeah.
And people are just angry, just in society alone. Just you go out there, like we talked about earlier about road rage, and people are just pissed. I mean, I think that we're at a melting pot right now, where the steam's already bubbling.
Oh yeah.
People are just mad, and like I said, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see things happen to my neighbors or my brothers and sisters. I don't want to see that happen in America. You
No.
know, um, and but people are just mad. They're fed up with it. You know.
Yeah. It's to a point now where people are wanting. They want it. They do want it. I mean, you see posts on Facebook, Twitter, or X, Instagram. You could all over social media. You see it all day long. They want a civil war. People want a civil war. Some people want to purge. Some people want to
Yeah.
get rid of certain political adversaries, if you will. Man, it's gotten so out of control, and it's coming to a head now in this country. I don't even know if there's any turning back
You
at the
know,
current moment.
I agree. I don't know if there is. I wish there was. I wish we could. I always say this. I would love to go back to 9/12. Right, the day after 9/11, this
Yep.
country came together. We were all one. We were all together. Um, we were proud to be Americans. We didn't care what nationality you were. We didn't care what your political stance was. We all it was a great feeling,
Right.
and it only lasted for a little bit. Unfortunately, that
Yeah.
that that but that's what we need to go back to is. And I'm not saying we need something to happen to get to that point because we don't. It's unfortunate that does, you know. But I don't even think if something was to happen anymore, that we would be even because everyone would just blame each other. If
Right.
something big was to happen, it would be this person's fault, or it'd be this person's fault. It would be Trump's fault. It'd be Biden's fault. It'd be the left. It'd be the right. No matter what happens, we see these tragedies at the school shootings, and it's always a political person's fault. They don't look at the person itself. They blame a political person's fault. It's the right for not allowing this and not allowing this. No, it's the left for not doing this and not for instead of looking at the reason why it happened.
Right.
So I don't know if we're ever going to be able to go back to that. Unfortunately, it's very sad because it's always a blame game now.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
Yeah,
right. You're absolutely right. I don't.
yeah,
Uh, I don't see it. I don't see it. There's nobody. Nobody's coming in on a white horse to save us right now.
no,
Um, and we always say make right with whatever God you believe in, because um, when that day comes, man, it's if you don't have a way or something to help you out of a situation, well, that's going to be the only thing that you're going to have then at that point. And good luck.
Well, the only thing, honestly, when it's all said and done, the thing, if the only thing that really should be important is we can have preps and we can have training, and we can have the pews and everything else.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is that make sure you're right with your creator.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah.
one of the biggest things. Whether you believe or you don't believe. I'm not going to get into a big talk about that because that's a whole different show. But it's important that you get right with your family,
Right.
your loved ones, and definitely your creator. And you should be prepping for everything in between.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's the truth. It's yeah. I I think we are going to witness um something that not even our great grandparents witnessed. No, what do you mean? How could it be worse than a world war? Oh, it can get a lot worse. Um, it can get a lot worse than just a world war.
It can get a lot worse.
Um,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I mean, it can
yeah.
get really bad. So, and I think we're going to witness something worse than a world war. I really do.
Yeah.
I believe it's going to be worse than a world war.
Rider on the white horse wrote, "Read the name and weep." I'm not sure what he means by "read the name and weep." What do you mean by that?
Read the
The
name and
name of
weep.
your rider on the white horse because we said white horse will come save us. Is that why? I think that's what he's referring to. We said no one is going to come ride on a white horse and save us, and I think that's why he wrote that. I guess.
I think so. That's interesting. Somebody's really got a lot of time on their hand.
Now now my question is: did that person just also make that name, or was that just coincidence? Because if it's coincidence, that's wild.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah, yeah,
Holy crap!
yeah.
Oh wow. Well, I don't know. I think that's pretty much everything we covered tonight that we
Yeah,
wanted to
we
cover
talked about
was
different things again.
EDC and bug out bags versus go bags versus get home bags and all that stuff.
Yeah,
No one is coming to save you but you and your mag.
right.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Illinois chaos. You're right.
Nobody's coming to save you.
No, no one's
Exactly.
coming to save you. So
You
continue to do
know,
things.
yeah. You don't know what we still talk about lone wolves all the time, and you can't be a lone wolf, man. Get with a group, get with some other people. People say, well, I don't know where to find the group. Well, you probably won't find the group because they're not going to be advertising really. But somehow word of mouth will get around. And you'll find the right group. If not, start one.
Exactly.
Start one, but do it the right way. Remember, check your ego at the door, and open yourself up to ideas, and have a plan, and just don't try to get with some kind of, even if it's a community, your neighborhood, people, your neighbors in the neighborhood, whatever it is, get connected with people.
Yes.
I preach get to know your neighbors. Like I said before, I don't know my neighbors. Unfortunately, I don't. But I'm lucky where I don't have to worry about that because I have other means of people in my life that I count on. But
Right.
if you know your neighbors, say, hey, listen, you guys ever think about what could happen if? And I bet you they're thinking the same thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Maybe put out some anonymous flyers. Start an email and put out some anonymous flyers out there and see what. Hang up a flyer at your local gas station, or your local sporting goods store, or your co-op, whatever, and say, hey, eat. My dog just fell off the thing. With an email. Maybe someone will email you. Try to get connected and get out there and get
Yes.
involved. You know.
There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with getting out there and getting involved and trying. I mean, you're just following CDC, what the CDC recommends. I always say it.
Sure.
It's on their
Yeah, there
website,
you go.
man. It's on their
Yeah,
website.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. You can't say be prepared for a storm, but don't be prepared for other stuff that's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Don't be
be
prepared
prepared.
for civil unrest, which I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
understand that
yeah,
one. Don't be prepared.
yeah.
Okay, so just let them come burn down our houses and take all our shit. Don't be prepared for that. But be
Right,
prepared for
right.
COVID. Be prepared for that COVID.
Yes, and take your 6 boosters and everything else, whatever it is. You can't say the word. You can't say the V word, I guess, without something happening on YouTube. I heard
What's that? COVID?
you can't. You can't say the V word.
Oh,
The stick.
the jab.
From what I've heard, if you say it on YouTube, they block you and they shut you down and everything else. So the juice.
Yeah.
You can shut me down. I got 5 subscribers, so I don't care. I don't want to see it happen to you.
It's what do they call it? It's like taking what is it, viper venom or something like that.
Viper venom, yeah, yeah, yeah. The viper venom,
Viper.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's that whole thing. It's like so what, they have like 5 or 6 boosters at
Yeah.
the end of that. People are getting them, and we have talked to people. Well, we have someone in our you and I have someone mutual in our life who works in the medical field that has told us that she has seen an increase in younger males coming in with pulmonary issues and dying
Yep.
who had all those boosters. So, but that's the whole topic for another time. Actually, that's not a topic I want to even discuss. You know, I don't even want to discuss that whole COVID thing anymore.
Yeah, I'm done with
Yeah,
that. I'm so
yeah,
over it. You
yeah,
can't they don't even want you to speak about it. That's how
yeah.
bad it is. That's
Hey,
how
I see
corrupted it is.
you got your sniper veil on. Did you see the link I posted to you? The 2 pack for like $8.
When did you send it to me?
On that one thing I posted it. It was actually it's on the one Facebook page that you and I know about. It's got a link. It was an overstock link, and 2 of those sniper veils on Amazon are like $8, $7.
Did you order it?
No, I have one. I didn't. I know you use them.
These are great.
Put it on your head. Yeah. You just where'd he go? Yeah, that is great. That is those are awesome. I got one. I probably should order. I mean, for a 2-pack for $8, you can't beat that. Because I paid for mine was like $14, I think. So, how many do you
Yeah.
have?
3,
Oh,
4
okay,
maybe.
so you don't need to order more.
They're good to have. I mean, it's not like it's
Yeah.
like the most durable material, you know. But they are good to have. I've got one for winter. You know, I've got like a snow camel type one.
Mhm.
I've got 2 woodlands, and I've got like another, I think, desert looking one. But yeah, I don't know why I have that. Don't ask me why I have the desert one. I think it came in a pack of
What
it or something.
what is so the camo netting behind you? Do you buy that in rolls? Because that's something that I think is important to have too. I think
Yeah.
having camo netting like that is important to have on hand for anything, whether it be making your vehicle disappear in a situation if you're out doing something, or even at your home, whatever it might be. It comes in rolls, right?
So you can get it in rolls. You can get it in like a 10 by 12 section, like how you would like a tarp. Um, those sections usually have some kind of like a string attached, so you can just hang it really quick. But you got to be careful. Like the cheap stuff, it doesn't really do that good of a job. The real
Mm,
expensive stuff, if you're gonna buy the cheap stuff, I recommend putting like another layer underneath, not over, but
okay.
underneath, because you
Yeah.
see here, this is cheap stuff. I've got the cheap stuff here. You could still kind of like make out like that's like a pole or something. You know, you can still kind of make that out. Whereas the super expensive stuff, you're not gonna be able to make out shit. Nothing.
Mm,
You're gonna be flying. You'll be flying right over, and you're not even gonna realize what the hell's underneath you. You know, no
okay.
clue. Yeah, and the nettings have gotten so sophisticated, and the technology for them now is unreal. I've seen some really good netting where it literally, I don't know what they're doing or what they're making them out of. I mean, you literally disappear. So
Huh. Interesting.
yeah,
I just always thought it'd be a good thing to have, and I never really knew where to start with the whole camo netting
oh
and
yeah,
camo material. I know you can buy rolls on Amazon, and but it's when I was younger, it was always cool to have the parachute hanging in your ceiling. You get a parachute from the surplus store or an old
yeah.
parachute, and you put you hang it up in your. So it's like, yeah, but that's just for show. But the camo netting, I see a big purpose for that.
You know, it actually brings up a really good point because if you're trying to conceal yourself, um, having some burlap straps with you on hand wouldn't be a bad thing. And burlap is great because it absorbs,
Hmm.
whatever dyes you want to use, and you could
Yeah.
camouflage burlap straps yourself and tie it off on your backpack, your hat, like these little slots.
Hmm.
You could camouflage, get some burlap straps, long blades of grass. I mean, sky's the limit, really. And even off your pew, or
Hmm.
get
Oh
some
yeah,
rack.
and tie them off. Tie 'em off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
lot of snipers like to wrap their scopes. They paint their rifle, paint their scopes, or they put like a. You only see like this little box, this little window they're looking out of their whole scope. Like let's say the scope is like this, but they've shrunk it to like nothing. Um,
Well, I've seen optics like binoculars or other optics used on a rifle, for instance, where they'll take the sniper veil and they'll cut out.
yeah.
So someone looking at it can't really see it too well, it blends in. And I mean, I don't know how that does looking through that with it as through an optic, but I
Well,
would be I'm interested to tell.
I mean, it's like this. Okay,
Okay, yeah.
it's like this, and what they do is they put it over, and I've seen guys do that, And it does. I mean, they disappear. I mean, if you're far away, let's say you don't have binoculars, you're not going to see that.
Yeah.
You're not going to see that.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not a
Yeah.
trained eye, you're really not going to see it. You're going to pass that right up. And you're probably going to be dead. So, you know, it's just,
Before you know it. Yeah. Yeah.
no, you're
Yeah.
going to be dead before you hear the gunshot. You know, it's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. Yeah. That's a real
so
thing. Yeah.
these
Yeah.
veils, they're not just like, yeah, it's part of my, my show, but I know what they're for. I know what they're used for. You know, I've gone hunting with them. They're amazing. You know,
Yeah.
I know what they're for.
We got out duck hunting with when you brought it out, and I thought it was goofy. I'm like, what do you got out there? Because it's like he's ready to go. But that is the thing to take out even when you go hunting. It breaks
yeah.
up your face.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The schmog, not so much. I wouldn't count on it to like
I'm a
cover,
schmog guy.
like conceal yourself. Not so much. It's just more.
Right.
The schmog's got other uses, tourniquet use,
Right.
you know, headband, you know, face protection, you know, just keep yourself out of the elements if you were in like a colder element. That's what they were really designed for. And you got to look at for what it was intended, you know, the intended purposes, if you will, in the desert, what the people were using it for.
Yeah.
Keeping sand out of their face. You know, it gets cold at night. It's a desert. You know, it's just another thing to wrap their face up in. Like I said,
Well,
they
it
should
takes the sun off your neck and your ears for sure. Last time we were out over the summertime doing some stuff out at the range, and it was wide open, and our ears were starting to burn. And I'm like, I pulled my schmog out and I wrapped I wrapped it on my face and like normal, and it just kept me cool. And I like to pour water on it because it just keeps absorbing the water and keeps your neck cool. And it's just I love schmogs. There's so many uses for schmogs.
Oh yeah.
Whenever I find them cheap on Amazon, and there are cheap ones and there's good ones, but I just buy them up. Yeah, there you go. And they're big.
Yeah. Oh, this one's huge. It's like a dress.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They got the little tassels on it for the decorations. I don't know what the purpose is.
The purpose is probably also so you can tie things. You can tie them up. You can tie easier.
Yeah, it could be.
I believe. Yeah. Because it didn't have any kind of like tassels on it, you wouldn't be able to like tie it off or anything.
No, I don't even think this is like good quality because this is more like airsoft quality. I think.
Probably is.
I think so.
They still come in handy.
Yeah, they still come in handy. You know,
Texas bushcraft makes good ones.
Who does?
If you look up Texas bushcraft,
Texas
they
bushcraft.
only,
Okay.
they only come in orange, but they're really good schmugs. And you can also burn them. You can make charcoal out of them. You can rip them up if you have to for to burn. There's a lot of uses for them.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
It kind of goes. What do they call those? Survival bandanas. I think it is survival bandanas.
Yeah.
So
Wazoo makes something like that.
Wazoo. Yeah,
they make the survival bandana.
You know, that's an interesting company. I've never purchased anything from them. I've always wanted to, but there's something about like that hat and the belt. I'm like, what am I going to need all that stuff for? In my hat and my belt.
I don't see why. I mean, I think I do. I think they're great. I do like their I guess their chokers or necklaces where they have like one's got a fire, flint and steel or fire. One's got a knife sharpener. They're like $50, $40. I'm not gonna pay that for that.
No.
And they do have the hats with the Velcro patch you rip off, and you can hide needles and thread, and But I mean, technically, I could actually a little slit in there and probably hide something. And I'm not knocking about it. They make some really cool stuff. I know people hide cuff keys inside of them or little razor blades inside of them. You know, like the paracord bracelets. I like wearing paracord bracelets, but I also like to add to them.
Right.
I take razor bands. And I'll take a bunch of ranger bands and I'll line them up in there and I'll put stuff in between the ranger bands.
Oh,
Like
there you go.
CountyCon makes titanium little razor blades. Can't break them, and I'll stuff them in there. So I always have a razor blade in there, and but The chance of me ever taking apart a paracord bracelet in a survival situation is pretty rare. I'm gonna go to my bag and pull out a whole roll of paracord.
County Com makes some cool stuff.
Yeah, they do.
Did
They
you
really
did you
do.
get their email on the sale that they have going right now?
No, I didn't. I probably did. I probably didn't check it because I get their emails.
Yeah, you gotta check their email for the latest. They actually have a sheath for that EOD pry bar.
Oh, they do. Is it
Oh
a
yeah,
Kydex sheet? Or what? Oh, really?
it's Kydex. Yep,
Oh,
yep.
I'm glad that's good. What's that go for? Remember?
Uh, I don't think it's that much. Actually, I have
I'll
the.
have to look it up.
Of course, I have it on hand.
Yeah, those things are great.
Yeah, this is it right here.
Yeah.
I still have it in the plastic. It's a bitch to get back in, but why not? I'll pull it out. I'll show you guys if I can. If my fat fingers will allow me here, because this thing is
I
like,
look at that as like I look at a pry bar as a definite thing that's great to have in your EDC bag. You can pry open elevator doors. You can pry open doors of buildings. You can whatever it might be, car doors, whatever it might be. Those, yeah, those are great. Yeah. Some guys wrap them paracord. Yep.
yeah, they got the holes exactly. You can wrap it in paracord. This little part here, I mean, it's you have to shim something, wedge something. You want to pry. Let's say, survival situation. You're out of food. You need to get food. You're coming towards a gymnasium of some sort, park district. They've got vending machines, dude.
Yeah, yeah,
Right inside, man.
yeah,
And those things are
yeah,
not hard to crack
yeah,
open at all.
yeah. And you're not going to break that thing.
No, no,
Yeah,
no, God,
no,
no.
no.
Uh-uh. Yeah, this
Well,
thing's a sweet.
I'll check that out. The Kydex sheath.
Yeah.
Well, I
So,
think we talked about everything there is. I know the views have gone up and down. We're back almost 100 again, but I think we're talked out of everything we talk about.
for tonight we have we are definitely, I think, next live we're gonna talk about some interesting stuff.
Okay.
I don't know what, but I think we're gonna talk more prepared citizen type, different applications, and we'll figure something out. So
Yeah, we will definitely will. If everybody
absolutely.
watching, make sure you hit if you like the show, hit like on Meatballs on this live feed. It brings up his numbers. Like it, share it, whatever it is. But if you're watching, we've been up to almost 200 something people. I don't know how many likes you've got. How many likes do you have? Can you tell or no?
Yeah, it says I have 4,
Yeah,
but
we need more than that.
yeah,
So go back and like it. So
um,
we can get more of the algorithm up there for us. This is what we do, and it's what you guys like doing. So,
and
and
for
then
me too.
when he gets more subscriptions, we can bring more
Yeah,
people on here live.
yeah, exactly. And same thing. For yourself, regular citizen. Um, we are your average Joes. We are your average Joes. I mean, you know, if you guys like this
Hold on, I'll be right
content,
back. I'll
yeah,
be right
yeah, do
back.
your thing. Yeah, do your thing. If you guys like this content and you guys are on pages, you're live, you're watching other guys live, um, and you feel like intimidated, if you will. We're like the opposite. Okay, we know what it's going to take, as far as a survival situation. We're not just going to rely on pews only. There's more to it. And those are the guys that we've always said they're going to be defeated. They're not going to know how to purify water. They're not going to know how to start a fire, how to make shelter, where to go get certain types of, bush medicine. They're not going to know, because all they ever trained for, was ready for, was to come and take your shit. And those are your cool guys, the tactical guys, rather. They think that they're tactical, but don't have any formal tactical training. So that's where we come in as the average Joes, if you will, and
My
we
dog popped
represent.
up.
Huh?
Look, my dog popped up on the.
I seen him. Yeah, I'm like, oh, what'd you do to him? Oh God! And they're
Well,
not.
that should increase our numbers.
Yeah, and they're not angry Viking. You see what Chaos wrote? Yeah,
No.
We're not angry Viking, that's for sure.
No,
We
we're
don't
not. We're not.
make empty promises on
Funny, we just
t-shirts.
talked about him this morning.
I know. That guy was a fraud, still is a fraud.
Still is a fraud. What is he, Big Tex now?
He's big
I don't want
Tex.
to give him any publicity, but Big Tex.
Big
I think he's
Tex.
selling something too now again.
Yeah, he
Bunch
should
of
be
fat
called Big
guys.
Fraud.
Richard Joy. Bunch of fat guys. This guy says, Richard Joy, where you been? You're old. That's what are you, 12 years old, guy?
I don't even see it. Who wrote that?
Someone wrote bunch of fat guys. Richard Joy. He's probably some 12-year-old in
Richard.
someone's basement.
He's
Mom,
part of that.
where's my pudding, Mom?
Maybe it's that fake. Maybe it's the same guy in that photo.
Oh, yeah. It is. They all are. We know that.
Oh, for
Like I
sure.
said, they won't come to us in person to say the things they say on here. They just love using the platform
No, they use
to
this
get
as
their.
great.
Yeah.
Oh well.
All right, brother. Well, you enjoy the rest of your weekend,
You too.
and we'll do it next Sunday.
Yes. Well, we're going to go live again next weekend. I am looking forward to it.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you to everybody who came on and stuck with us. And don't forget
All right.
hit like and share for both of us. So
Yeah, hit that like button because it really does.
it does help. So
Yeah.
maybe we can get enough support where we can have one of these keyboard warriors come on here. They can just come on here and say, "You're two fat boys," and that will disappear. I'm like, okay.
What are you gonna do? I'm gonna go on there and write bunch of fat guys. We're back in high school again. I'm a bully, but I won't say it in your face. Yeah, I love it. All right, brother. Well, you be safe.
You too. Take care.
And guns up.
Guns up.